Chapter 118. When the stonecutters from the Wanlong gambling house were called out to watch the stonecutters, and it was that shield tortoise at that, they found it somewhat inconceivable. Wasn't the twin soul stone already broken? What kind of soul stone could be cut? There were many magical beasts on the boundless continent, which correspondingly gave birth to many special professions. Stonecutters belonged to a very special profession. Some of these people were hunters in their early years, and some were butchers in their early years. No matter what profession they were in, they all had incredible stone-cutting skills, which was why they were invited to the Wanlong gambling house with high salaries. When that shield tortoise was first sent to the gambling house, it was already determined that there was a twin soul stone in its body. But because the shell of the shield tortoise was too hard, even if they used Dharma artifacts to cut the stone, it could damage the twin soul stone in the tortoise's body. All the stonecutters from the Wanlong gambling house unanimously determined that this shield tortoise was unable to cut the stone normally. That female summoner's failure to cut the stone with the lightning pearl also verified their words. But this sorcerer who came out of nowhere actually said that the shield tortoise's soul stone had not been taken out yet. That's ridiculous. Most tortoise soul stones grow in the heart and abdomen. That twin soul stone was also taken out from its heart. Anyone with eyes can see that this shield tortoise has long lost its soul stone. The stonecutters mocked one after another, looking down on Yun Shang. Then I will personally cut the stone once. Open your eyes and watch carefully. Yun Shang was completely unbothered by the mockery. It was hard to shut up the crowd. What she wanted was a promise from steward Long Hua. Long Hua only just found out that there was actually a soul stone in this shield tortoise's body. Yun Shang took out her oddly shaped scalpel. Seeing that she was going to use such a nondescript scalpel to dissect a 100-kilogram magical beast turtle, this person really thought that she was playing house. With the scalpel in hand, Yun Shang did not immediately start cutting the stone. She touched the shell of the shield tortoise. It was indeed incomparably hard. No wonder that female summoner just now had to use the lightning pearl to blast open the shell. The scalpel in Yun Shang's hand turned red. Infusing fire elemental magic into the blade? Long Hua's eyes narrowed slightly. As the saying goes, when an expert makes a move, one will know whether or not he is an expert. The scalpel, which looked as thin as a willow leaf, did not directly pierce into the tortoise's shell. Instead, it drew a circle around the tortoise's shell. Yun Shang's movements were very light, as if she was tearing a piece of paper. The fire element softened the surface of the shell, and after a circle, the shell was completely separated from the tortoise's body. Then came a series of actions starting from dissecting the shell, peeling the skin and pulling out the tendons, and finally cutting and harvesting the whole thing. Throughout the entire process there was no blood or sweat. It didn't even cause anyone to feel displeased. The shield tortoise, which had been so troublesome to deal with, was dissected. In the end, Yun Shang's knife landed on tortoise's stomach. The scalpel cut across the tortoise's stomach, and a milky white stone fell out. What's that? Everyone was shocked. The color of the stone, as well as the magic elements surrounding it. It was really a soul stone. A soul stone from a rank 5 lightning eel light element. Long Hua hurriedly found someone to confirm the soul stone, and the result was out of everyone's expectations. What is going on? How could a rank 5 magical beast soul stone appear in a rank 4 magical beast's body? And it was in its stomach. They had never heard of a magical beast soul stone growing in its stomach. Long Hua muttered to himself for a long time before he came up with a possible answer. It is very likely that when this shield tortoise was looking for food, it accidentally swallowed a lightning eel that had just died not long ago. The eel's body was digested, but the soul stone remained in the shield tortoise's body. Because of the light element soul stone, the twin soul stones were born in the tortoise's body. But how could you tell? The tortoise's shell was extremely hard, and it even blocked out a part of the magic element. Even the most experienced hunter could not tell that this magical beast had 3 types of magic elements. Yun Shang laughed mischievously. It's a secret. I have already kept my promise. Manager Long Hua, this shield tortoise and the soul stone belong to us. She could not say that she saw it with her Shunnong eyes. The shield tortoise was useless in the eyes of others, but in Yun Shang's eyes it was a treasure. Its meat could be used to refine high-grade medicinal oil, and its shell could be used to make armor with excellent magic defense. Of course, the most precious thing was the lightning eel's soul stone. As long as he had the lightning eel's soul stone, Goofing would be able to use light element elementary magic more easily. Lightning eels were a type of magical beast that was especially fast, especially when they used magic. Their speed was especially shocking. Please wait. Longhua saw that Yun Sheng was being taken away, and hurriedly stepped forward to block her way. What? There will be a day when Wanlong Gambling House goes back on its word? Yun Sheng's voice suddenly became cold. She had a good impression of Wanlong Gambling House, and did not want to have a conflict with Longhua. A rank 5 light element soul stone is very precious, but it is still not in my eyes. I only admire this mage's first-rate stone dissecting technique, and I admire it very much. I want to hire you as the chief stone dissecting master of Wanlong Gambling House. Longhua's eyes flashed with admiration. Yun Sheng's stone dissecting technique was bold and novel. Longhua had never seen anyone combine magic and stone dissecting together. Yun Sheng used the fire element to combine with a sharp knife, and easily cut open the hard tortoise shell. Compared to other stone dissecting masters, it took a long time and the results were poor, but it was much better. Longhua was naturally very happy to invite Yun Sheng to join Wanlong Gambling House. Chief Stone Dissecting Master? Yun Sheng did not know Longhua's specific intentions. In fact, she did not feel that she was stone dissecting at all. In her eyes, stone dissecting was no different from an ordinary operation. Compared to a complicated operation, this stone dissecting against magical beasts was very easy for her. Yun Sheng thought about it. Behind Wanlong Gambling House, it would not be as simple as an ordinary local force. A rank 5 soul stone could be sold for at least tens of thousands of gold coins in the market, but Longhua did not have the slightest intention to take it back. She had no one to rely on in Shangjing. If she had a force to rely on, it would be very beneficial for her in the future. Moreover, there were a variety of magical beasts auctioned in Wanlong Gambling House, which would be very beneficial for her to understand magical beasts. Moreover, she could also buy some cheap alchemy raw materials through the gambling house. Thinking of this, Yun Sheng agreed to Longhua's conditions. But taking into account her studies in the Magic Academy, Yun Sheng and Longhua agreed that only when the other stone dissecting masters of Wanlong Gambling House were unable to open the stone, she would do it. During her tenure as the chief stone dissecting master of Wanlong Gambling House, Yun Sheng could get a basic salary of 100 gold coins a month, and the cost of stone dissecting was calculated separately. Generally speaking, the stone dissecting master could get 30% of the stone dissecting fees of the gambling house. After negotiating with Longhua, Yun Sheng and the other two immediately left Wanlong Gambling House. They had to return to the Magic Academy and let Goofing fuse with the Lightning Eel Soul Stone. Chapter 119. Ever since Goofing was born, he felt that he was an unlucky person. His family was poor, and he was born in a remote mountain village. His parents were illiterate farmers, and he had 5 siblings. When he was 4 years old, he was unexpectedly discovered to be able to sense the light element when he attended the initiation ceremony at the temple. At that moment, the entire village was in an uproar. To understand it from a modern person's perspective, it was like a university student coming out of a mountain cave. Goofing relied on the money his parents collected from the villagers to attend the mage training at the town's temple. However, Goofing was born with a slight stutter, and this stutter became more and more serious when he was chanting, until it became difficult for him to chant. This greatly reduced the effectiveness of his magic nurturing chant, and the Dharma Suppression Temple also gave up on nurturing him. It was a great mage at the temple who saw his talent in potions and recommended him to the Royal Magic Academy. In this academy, where there were many children of officials, his existence was treated as a joke. He was ridiculed every 2 to 3 days, and beaten up every 5 days. If not for teacher Mary and abandon, Goofing might not have been able to persevere. But just as Goofing was about to give up mentally, Yun Sheng appeared. In just a few short days, Goofeng felt that his life had undergone an earth-shaking change. A few days ago, he was still a little magician who didn't even have a magic scepter. But in just 2 days, he not only had a magic scepter of the light attribute, but also a rank 5 soul stone of the light attribute. According to the principles of magic, Gufing would definitely not be able to fuse with a rank 5 soul stone. But this lightning eel soul stone did not have this problem. Because it had been stored in the shield tortoise's stomach for many years, the violent magical elements on this soul stone had basically been fused with the shield tortoise, and its repulsion had weakened. Because of this, Gufing's chances of fusing with this light soul stone had greatly increased. In order to allow Gufing to fuse with the soul stone in peace, Yunsheng also gave him a magic power card, so that he could stay in the magic tower to fuse with the soul stone. Gufing was much more straightforward. He was no longer as courteous as before. He already regarded Yunsheng as his family. He immediately entered the magic tower and began to fuse with the soul stone. This was because Gufing knew that he, Yunsheng, and Abandon were now a single entity. They were all members of Potion Group 13. There was no need to thank his companions so easily. As for Teacher Mary, all he needed to do was to inform Abandon. After Abandon returned to the Academy of Magic, he became as cold as an iceberg again, unwilling to say a single word. But it could be seen that his attitude towards Yunsheng and Gufing was much better. At least when Yunsheng asked him to help inform Teacher Mary, he would respond like a mosquito bite. This could be considered an improvement. The midterm examination was approaching. Yunsheng wanted to enter the magic tower and comprehend the second magic scroll that Teacher Mary gave her. But she was busy revising her magic lessons on one hand and taking care of the public herb field on the other. She really couldn't do two things at once. She planned to complete the first batch of herbs in the public herb field before entering the magic tower to comprehend the second mid-level spell. The second mid-level spell was called Earth Melt. This was a spell similar to teleportation, but due to Yunsheng's magic power, she could only teleport 5 or 6 meters away at a time. These 5 or 6 meters were still very effective in avoiding some single-target magic attacks. A few days passed in the blink of an eye. Yunsheng had just used the rain spell to water the herb field when she suddenly discovered that some of the herbs in the public herb field showed signs of withering. Ever since Yunsheng started taking care of the herb field, such a thing had never happened before. After careful observation, Yunsheng didn't find any problems with pests. There were also no problems with weeding and watering. Yunsheng couldn't help but frown. Shenong's eyes flickered slightly as she stared intently at a stalk of herb. The emerald green exterior of the herb gradually turned into a piece of tendon. Yunsheng noticed that the herb that looked undamaged on the outside was wriggling with tiny ant-like black magic elements. Upon closer inspection, she discovered that it wasn't a simple black magic element, but a type of magic bug. Shenong's eyes returned to their black color. Yunsheng sank into deep thought. Someone was up to no good. Almost immediately, Yunsheng thought of it. Someone had tampered with her herb field. And the person who tampered with it probably didn't have a simple background. They actually knew how to use magic bugs of the dark attribute to frame her. On the boundless continent, there weren't many magic beasts of the dark attribute. Therefore, they were also very precious and wouldn't appear in the herb field of the Royal Magic Academy on a large scale. This type of magic bug, if it was an ordinary magic academy, would definitely not be able to detect it with just a pair of eyes. Even some experienced magicians, if they didn't study dark magic, would not be able to detect that the herbs had been tampered with. But Yunsheng was different. She had 5 magic spirits and one of them was the dark magic spirit. Her perception towards the dark energy was much stronger than the average person. Adding on the Shenong's eyes, she naturally discovered this type of dark magic bug. It was a type of dark magic bug that was good at concealing its body and magic aura. They only gathered at the vital parts of the herb, from the bud to the root, and the speed of reproduction was very shocking. Currently, Yunsheng had only discovered 1 or 2 acres of the herb field. But if she had discovered it a little later, the entire herb field would have been destroyed. In a few months' time, before the final examination, Yunsheng would have to hand over the first batch of public herbs to the academy. The person who did this definitely didn't want Yunsheng to hand over the herbs successfully, so they tampered with it in the dark. What Yunsheng wanted to do was to catch the culprit. But before that, there was a more thorny problem for her to solve, which was how to get rid of the bugs. Like in the past, Yunsheng only needed to use the trillium hand to catch the pests. But this time the pests were inside the herbs. If she uprooted the pests, it would definitely affect the growth of the herbs and the harvest in the future. But if she didn't remove them, the pests would spread like a plague. The person who did this was very vicious. This type of bug wouldn't kill the herbs directly. It would only eat away at the nutritional value of the herbs. It would cause the original first-grade herbs to become second-grade or even third-grade useless herbs. Who exactly did she offend? Yunsheng quickly recalled that day in the herb field. The vice president of the Magic Combat Association, Chen Lianer and Song Xiangru. Previously, when she rejected their invitation to join the Magic Combat Association, the two of them actually didn't take revenge. Yunsheng thought about it now. Only those two domineering young ladies from rich families would be willing to use the precious dark magic bug to frame her. Yunsheng pondered for a moment and decided to go to the academy's library to look for relevant information. She wanted to see if she could find a way to get rid of the dark magic bug without damaging the herbs. Chapter 120. The Royal Magic Academy's hidden book pavilion was known as the Great Zhou country's most abundant magic book treasury. Of course, this was only a title. Who told the Great Zhou country's magic to be lacking? It couldn't be that complete. Yunsheng had already noticed this when she entered the library. The library was divided into 2 floors. The first floor was the library that was open to the public. The environment here was quiet and elegant. The illumination formations that were lit up day and night, and the meditation formations that flowed out like small bridges, and flowing water from time to time made the entire library look very elegant. Yunsheng walked around the first floor, and was disappointed to find that the magic information recorded here was completely useless for her to get rid of the dark magic bugs. The dark magic bugs were too small. Using ordinary magic, not only was there no way to get rid of them, it could even harm the medicinal herbs. Just as she was about to walk to the second floor, she was stopped by a teacher in the library. The second floor is not open to ordinary students unless you can obtain the teacher's permission. That teacher looked at Yunsheng and found that she was from the magic potion department. His eyes were filled with disdain. Teacher's permission? Yunsheng was in a difficult position. She didn't want to tell Teacher Mary about the dark magic bugs in the medicinal herb field. After all, she didn't tell anyone other than her father that she had a dark magic soul. Yunsheng, why are you here? Yunsheng was thinking when a heroic voice came from behind her. She turned around and saw Fengque standing not far away with a smile on his face. Fengque's image and the elegant library really didn't match well. Yunsheng thought to herself. Her brows suddenly relaxed. That's right, she could ask Fengque to help her. Yunsheng gave Fengque a look and walked to the side with him. After Yunsheng told Fengque about her intention to enter the second floor of the library, Fengque didn't say anything. He looked at Yunsheng with some confusion. Why are you going up to the second floor? There are some mid-level magic and some forbidden magic recorded there. It's for the teachers to use as reference in their teaching. On the Boundless Continent, there were many ways to record magic. The most common ones were magic books and magic light scrolls. Compared to the two, the magic light scroll was more practical. Not only did it record the key points of magic, but it also often had illusions of magic practice, allowing the learner to clearly understand the essence of the whole magic, including the incantations and the drawing of magic circles. Magic books, on the other hand, were much more rigid. They only recorded obscure incantations and vague methods of drawing magic arrays. Only magicians with sufficient strength and outstanding comprehension ability could directly comprehend magic through magic books. Yunsheng was only a magician who had just joined the Magic Academy. It was already good enough that she could learn elementary magic. The magic books on the second floor were too difficult for her to read. In addition, the books on the second floor only recorded intermediate fighting magic. If Yunsheng, a student of the potions department, went to read the books, it would inevitably arouse Fengque's suspicion. The final examination will be in a few months. Teacher Mary asked us to prepare carefully. In addition, I offended a few students of the fighting department a while ago. Yunsheng stammered, pretending to be in a difficult position. That's right. Your summoned beast with the crying technique can't be easily revealed in front of others. It's a pity that I have a lot of things on hand, so I can't teach you anything. I'll go talk to that teacher and allow you to go up for an hour or two. Fengque was a straightforward person. Although he was also a teacher of the fighting department, he had long heard about the bullying in the Royal Magic Academy. He was outspoken by nature and couldn't bear to see this kind of thing. However, as a teacher, it wasn't good for him to teach a bad student a lesson. With Fengqua's appearance, Yunsheng's problem was immediately solved. Before Yunsheng went upstairs, the teacher in charge of the library reminded her, "You can read most of the books, but there are some books that are forbidden by the academy. If you don't have special needs, don't casually flip through them." Yunsheng's heart skipped a beat. She thought that those so-called forbidden books were most likely the books on dark magic that she was looking for. She vaguely nodded her head and walked up to the second floor. The layout of the second floor of the library was similar to that of the first floor. However, the area was only a third of the first floor, and the number of bookshelves were much fewer. What was drawn on the walls wasn't an illuminating magic array, but a more advanced magic array that focused one's attention. It was convenient for those reading the books to concentrate their mental strength. Yunsheng first looked through a portion of the books. There were all kinds of magic recorded in them, but Yunsheng secretly compared them. They were not as powerful as the magic recorded in the magic scroll that Teacher Mary had given her. Moreover, most of the intermediate magic was difficult to understand and wasn't easy to comprehend in a short period of time. Yunsheng knew that she shouldn't bite off more than she could chew. She put down these books and looked for the so-called forbidden books. Her gaze fell on the last row of the bookshelf. There was a conspicuous notice on it. Forbidden magic books for research only. It was a row of books that recorded information on dark magic. However, most of the contents were like biographies. They didn't specifically mention dark magic, but recorded the history of dark magic's development. The books on dark magic in the Royal Magic Academy had been donated to the Academy by a local bookseller in the Jade Capital in the early years. After the Academy checked and confirmed that there were no records of dark magic, they were casually placed aside for the use of teachers in their classes. However, in order to prevent young students from being misled by the history of dark magic, these books were still labeled as forbidden books. They were strictly prohibited from being privately borrowed. Yunsheng was bored to death as she read a few pages of the history of dark magic. Just as she was about to put the book back, a small piece of paper that looked like a notebook fell out of the book. The small piece of paper was only the size of a leaf. The paper had already turned yellow, but the messy runes written on it were still bright. The red runes seemed to have a fishy smell. Just looking at them made one's hair stand on end. Looking at the handwriting, this piece of paper seemed to have been casually copied down by someone. The magical runes on it seemed to have been randomly written. They were messy and didn't seem to have any pattern to them. At first glance, one would feel a wave of dizziness, and even be unable to concentrate on meditation. This piece of paper had probably been flipped through before, but most people couldn't understand the magical runes on it. However, when Yunsheng saw the magical runes on it, a strange scene appeared in her eyes. Her dark magic soul that hadn't shown any signs of activity for a long time suddenly became abnormally active. The dark magic soul flickered, reminding her that this piece of paper in front of her was unusual. Yunsheng suppressed the excitement in her heart. She understood that this small piece of paper might very well contain what she wanted. Yunsheng's pupils contracted. She calmly closed the book and put it back in its original position. However, the small piece of paper inside the book had already been silently placed into the beast's speech ring. Sorry about yesterday. I sent the wrong chapter. Thank you, Luo Yan. Thanks to Genius Luanluan's reminder, the wrong chapter has already been replaced last night. Sorry. I've been a little dizzy recently. To express my apologies, I'll try my best to write more today. Chapter 121. Yunsheng left the library with a calm expression. Only the heavens knew that her heart was beating like a drum at this moment, and the reason was the small piece of paper lying in the beast language ring. After some consideration, she decided to go to the public medicine field since there were too many people in the public student dormitory. In order to make it convenient to take care of the public medicine field, the academy had built a small storeroom there. After arriving at the storeroom, Yunsheng took out the small piece of paper that she had just received. Once the small piece of paper was in her hand, the dark magic soul in Yunsheng's body started to boil like water with firewood added to it. Her mental strength was like a tentacle, probing into the small piece of paper in her hand. At this moment, if someone were to see Yunsheng's appearance, they would definitely be shocked. Her originally jet-black pupils became even darker, and her eyes appeared extraordinarily large. Her pupils were like two black holes. Under her half-length bangs, her small face was sparkling and translucent, like a top-grade jade artifact. Her pair of eyes had a bewitching beauty that would make people gasp in amazement. The magic runes on the piece of paper changed from a mess to an orderly one. Very quickly, a brand new magic appeared in her mind. Magic Thorns, elementary dark magic. Soft and formless, coming and going without a trace. It can silently kill enemies and magical beasts. Her palms couldn't help but sweat. This was the first time Yunxiang came into contact with dark magic. Even though she possessed a 5-elemental magic soul, Yunxiang had never practiced any dark magic under the warning of her father, Yun Songhai. In her mind, dark magic was more or less an unknown magic. Just as Yunxiang was hesitating, she discovered a brand new magic concept on the piece of paper. It was the principle of the mutual suppression of magic attributes. Among the 4 elemental magic beasts, water and fire restrained each other, while earth and wind went against each other. More importantly, light and dark magic beasts were mostly immune to the 4 elemental magic, but the damage they dealt to the 4 elemental magic was doubled. After reading this sentence, Yunxiang thought that she had no choice but to learn dark magic. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to get rid of the magic insects in the medicine field. Yunxiang's comprehension ability was very high. Coupled with the fact that she had learned several kinds of elementary magic earlier, she quickly learned this kind of dark magic. They came to an open space outside the public medicine field. Yunxiang wanted to test the difference between the mysterious dark magic and ordinary earth magic. From the magic records, this beginner-level magic called Dark Magic Thorns didn't seem to be much different from the earth thorns that Yunxiang had already mastered. Yunxiang found 2 rocks that were about the same size. She planned to use the earth spike and the dark devil thorn to test them out and see if there were any differences between the two. Yunxiang had used the earth spike countless times and was very proficient in chanting. Yunxiang had been cultivating in the magic tower for a while, and her magic power had increased. She could instantly release 2 earth spikes at once. With a burst of earthquake, the brownish-yellow earth spikes pierced through the rocks one after another. A rock weighing tens of kilograms was instantly pierced into 4 pieces. Now she wanted to test out the power of the dark devil thorn that she had just learned. Yunxiang chanted. After a quiet sound, she felt a slight fluctuation. The rock in front of her didn't have any movement. Could it be that the dark magic's effect was worse than the earth spike? Yunxiang was depressed. She walked forward to take a look. As soon as he touched the rock, it shattered into pieces and turned into a pile of ashes. Yunxiang was shocked. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, she definitely wouldn't believe that a rock could be shattered into pieces in an instant. What a tyrannical dark devil thorn. This was her first time using it. If she was proficient in it in the future, not to mention a rock, she was afraid that even a magic beast would be stabbed into internal injuries in an instant. Yunxiang's heart skipped a beat. She suddenly thought that the principle of the dark devil thorn seemed to be similar to her soul-healing divine needle. If she were to merge the two together, she wondered what the effect would be. If she could merge the two together, it would be able to conceal the traces of the dark magic. However, Yunxiang wasn't in a hurry to merge the two together. She was more anxious to know if the dark magic that she had just learned would have any effect on eliminating the dark devil insects in the medicinal field. Yunxiang had tried to use the earth spike and other magic to kill the dark devil insects earlier. However, it only destroyed the medicinal plants while the dark devil insects inside were unharmed. Right now, she could only try using the dark devil thorn. Walking to the front of the public medicinal field, Yunxiang chanted the dark devil thorn. A hidden force that couldn't be seen by the naked eye entered the medicinal plants. The dark devil thorn that was as fine as a hair instantly pierced through the medicinal plants like a flash of lightning. The stubborn dark devil insects in the roots and stems of the medicinal plants were pierced through by the dark devil thorn. It was like a thick fog that was exposed to sunlight. The moment the dark devil thorn pierced through the dark devil insects, Yunxiang felt a surge of dark magic element entering her body. This feeling was similar to the dark devil magic element that Yunxiang had obtained after meditation. The dark devil magic element in the bodies of the dark devil insects that had been eliminated actually flowed into Yunxiang's body, along with the use of the dark devil thorn. Yunsheng was overjoyed. She didn't expect the dark devil thorn to have such a miraculous effect. Not only could it kill dark devil insects, it could also absorb the dark devil magic element in the bodies of the dark devil insects. Although the dark devil insects didn't have a lot of dark devil insects, there were many of them in the medicinal field. After repeated experiments, not only did the dark devil magic element in Yunsheng's body not decrease, her dark magic soul even grew a little. In order to test if the dark devil thorn could work on any type of magical creature, Yunsheng repeated the experiment a few times. At this moment, an earth lizard jumped out from the soil of the medicinal field. With a thought from Yunsheng, the dark devil thorn instantly pierced through the earth lizard's abdomen. A weak earth magic element then entered Yunsheng's body. She continued to experiment with rocks, trees, water, and many other living and inanimate objects. Very quickly Yunsheng verified one point. Not only could the dark devil thorn kill enemies invisibly, it could also absorb the dark devil magic element in any magical creature's body. However, it had no effect on inanimate objects and could only shatter them. As for whether this dark devil magic was effective on humans, Yunsheng didn't know yet. There wasn't much time left until the midterm examination. Yunsheng decided that she could use the dark devil thorn to test out its effects during the midterm examination. In the evening, Yunsheng watched as the medicinal plants in the public medicinal field returned to their former flourishing state, and the dark magic soul in her body expanded once again. She sneered, "Magic Combat Association, this time, I will definitely make you die a horrible death." Chen Liener and the rest were still in the dark about the dark devil insects in the public medicinal field being quietly exterminated. That night, a sneaky figure came to the side of the public medicinal field. This person was Chu San from the Magic Combat Association, a wind mage. He received orders from Chen Liener and the rest to monitor every movement in the medicinal field. Under the moonlight, the medicinal field looked lively and didn't look like it was suffering from the dark devil insects. Chapter 122. When Chu San saw that the herbs in the field were all growing well, he thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. A few days ago, he had come to take a look, and at that time, many of the herbs in the field had already withered. A faint green wind element surged around his body. As a wind elemental mage, Chu San's most powerful skill was his agility. At night, he looked like a human-shaped bat. Chu San and the others landed on the empty ridge of the public field. He carefully looked around and after making sure that there was no one around, he walked into the medicinal field with relief. Chu San looked carefully again. Under the moonlight, the herbs were still green and full of vitality. There was no sign that they were infested. Could it be that the magic bugs bought by the vice president did not work? Chu San thought for a moment, and carefully took out a small cloth bag from his chest. The cloth bag was bulging, and things were constantly moving around inside. "Little darlings, the vice president's orders are all in your hands." Compared to Song Xiangru, Chen Liener's methods were much more powerful and sinister. Yunsheng looked down on her orders and refused to join the Combat Magic Association. Chen Liener secretly hated her. On one hand, she ordered Chu San to monitor Yunsheng's every move. On the other hand, she asked Chu San to buy a type of dark magic bug, ghost aphids, at a high price. Ghost aphids were very rare magic bugs in Zhou State. They could only be caught in the barbarian lands in the far north. The biggest characteristic of this type of magic bug was that once it entered the body of a plant, it would disappear without a trace. Normal mages would not be able to detect it. Even if some mages with especially sharp mental strength were to discover it, without a unique insect extermination spell, the ghost aphids would not be destroyed. This type of magic bug had strong reproductive ability and was not easy to kill. Therefore, in the field of herbs, there was a special name called bug plague. Chu San had secretly placed more than 10 ghost aphids in the field. He thought that it would be enough to destroy the entire field. Who would have thought that tonight, the field would not be affected at all? Chu San did not give up. He bent down like a sneaky groundhog and looked at the sign on the ridge of the field. In the public medicinal fields, every plot of land would be marked with the name of the corresponding herb. Song San found a few fields where the most valuable herbs were planted. He loosened his grip on the pouch in his hand and quietly cast a wind magic spell. Dozens of flying insects that were only 1 to 2 millimeters in length flew out of the bag, fighting to be the first to fly out. Dozens of ghost aphids were blown far away by the wind and attached themselves to different medicinal herbs. Once the ghost aphid came into contact with the herb, it would drill into the body of the herb and absorb its essence. Within a few days, the herbs in the public medicinal fields would become worthless weeds. Chu San sneered. You potioneers who don't know what's good for you. Let's see how you'll die this time. Daring to offend our combat association, you're courting death. Suddenly, the smile on Chu San's face froze. Not far from him, the ghost aphid that had just landed on a stalk of herb fell from the stalk and struggled on the ground for a few moments before dying. What's going on? Song San asked suspiciously as he took a few steps forward. Before he even got close, there was a slight cracking sound under his feet. He looked down vigilantly and discovered that in the middle of the medicinal field, there was actually a shiny hunting device. The sharp barbs on the mousetrap were about to pierce his ankles. Song San was indeed a wind magician. His body swayed and his feet, which had originally landed on the ground, floated up. Who would have thought that just as his feet were about to leave the ground, a cold and strange feeling like an electric shock spread from the ground all the way to his calf. His calf jerked violently as if it was cramping. He cried out in pain and lost his balance. One of his legs stepped down and precisely stepped on the hunting device. The bone-chilling sound of bones cracking could be heard, and the thin and weak wind mage let out a miserable shriek. That hunting device was no ordinary hunting device. After Yun Shang learned her lesson from the golden rhinoceros boar, she asked Uncle Tai to forge an enhanced version of the hunting device. Once it clamped down, not to mention human bones, even the hard golden rhinoceros boar's leg bone would be crushed. While Chu San was screaming, one of his left legs had already been snapped off. Almost at the same time, a fireball fell from the sky. Song San, who was in so much pain that he was hovering between life and death, had no strength to resist. He did not even have time to scream a second time before he fainted. Before he fainted, he only had time to hear a shout, "Catch the thief, there's a thief in the public medicinal field." This shout spread far and wide in the spacious public medicinal field. After a while, a few teachers and students who had heard the news rushed over. What's going on? A few teachers and students saw a messy medicinal field that had obviously been trampled over. In the medicinal field, a student from the combat department had already fainted. Below his left thigh, there was a hunting device clamped down. The sharp steel teeth had pierced into the student's leg. His leg bone was already badly mutilated and the broken bone was exposed. The most tragic thing was that his clothes had been burned by the fire. His head and body were also pitch black. It was obvious that he had been burned by the fire. Someone recognized that person as the combat department's wind magician, Chu San. On the ridge of the field, there was also a magic potion department student whose face was pale with fright. Aren't you the new magic potion department's public student? What's going on? Within the campus, private fights were strictly prohibited. The teachers had stern faces. The pitiful magic potion department's public student, Yun Sheng, shuddered. There seemed to be a glimmer of light flickering under her eyes. I don't know either. A few days ago, there were traces of wild beasts trampling on the public medicinal field. I thought that a wild beast had broken in, so I set up a few hunting devices in the medicinal field. Tonight, just as I finished applying the fertilizer and was about to leave, I heard some movement in the medicinal field. I saw a shadow in the medicinal field and thought that it was a wild beast, so I released a fireball spell. Who knew? When the teachers heard this, they also felt that something was wrong. The sky was already so dark. What was Chu San, a student from the combat department, doing in the public medicinal field? The few of them entered the medicinal field and carried Chu San out. When they carried Chu San out, they discovered that there was a burnt black cloth bag beside Chu San. Next to the cloth bag there were a few dead ghost aphids. After examining the ghost aphids, the teachers' faces changed. The teachers' knowledge was naturally not comparable to the average magic student. They looked at each other and first ordered people to send Chu San to the infirmary. At the same time they comforted the frightened public student Yun Shang, repeatedly telling her that tonight's events must not be spread out. They hurried to the academic affairs office to report what had happened tonight. Chapter 123. After the mentors left, Yunsheng walked to the herb field unhurriedly. She looked at the blood-stained soil and the trampled herbs with a mocking expression. The horror on her face faded away like the tide. Magic Combat Association. I hope tonight's incident can be a reminder to you. If you are stubborn, I will make you regret being born into this world. After cleaning up the herb field, Yunsheng returned to the public student dormitory. The news of what happened in the public herb field had not spread yet. As soon as Yunsheng returned, she saw Gufeng standing outside the dormitory. Beside him was Abandon, whom Gufeng refused to let go. Yunsheng, you are back. Abandon and I have been waiting anxiously. Gufeng's face was full of joy. Needless to say, his fusion with the soul stone must have been successful. Your stuttering is cured? Yunsheng was surprised. Gufeng had a slight stutter when he spoke, and when he recited magic, he stuttered greatly. Now he could not tell at all. Gufeng laughed foolishly. Thanks to your lightning eel soul stone, the soul stone's fusion rate is 60%. It also has an additional effect of haste which can cure my stuttering. I will not stutter in the future. Gufeng's face was full of joy. Yunsheng was also very gratified. She did not expect the fusion with the demon beast soul stone to have such an effect. That's not all. I've also learned a new spell, Gufeng said as he raised his magic scepter. A sparkling soul stone appeared on the magic scepter made of unicorn bones. Gufeng began to chant. Unexpectedly, his chanting was no longer stuttering. It became very smooth. Almighty God of light, please grant your people the protection of light. A ray of light shot out from Gufeng's magic scepter. The light enveloped Abandon and Yunsheng, who were standing beside Gufeng. The light formed a spherical barrier around the three of them, isolating them from the outside world. Yunsheng's heart stirred, and she waved the magic scepter in her hand. A fireball shot out and collided with the ball of light. The fireball was extinguished as if it had sunk into water. The most amazing thing was that this 360-degree ball of light, which had no blind spots, would move as the three of them moved. Hey Yunsheng, this is my heavenly sphere of light. It's really powerful. No beginner magic can break it. Gufeng was extremely excited. His chubby face flashed with pride. Yunsheng couldn't help but click her tongue in amazement. As expected of a light magician, he really had his own uniqueness. Even Abandon, who had always been cold, couldn't help but extend his magic scepter. A snake-like attack shot out from his magic scepter. As expected, it couldn't penetrate the defensive ball of light. Wow, this thing is really powerful. Yunsheng thought to herself. This was much more powerful than the usual earth magic defense. Not long after she praised it, the protective wall of the heavenly sphere of light became fainter and fainter. In less than 10 seconds, the spherical heavenly sphere of light collapsed. Although the heavenly sphere of light is powerful, it can only last for a short time. With my current magic power, it can only last for 3 minutes at most. Gufeng touched his head embarrassedly. Yunsheng and Abandon looked at each other. Yunsheng burst out laughing, and Abandon also coughed a few times. Alright, a mobile group defense spell is already very impressive. I believe that with the appearance of this new spell, the path of magic will be much smoother in the future. Yunsheng comforted Gufeng. I hope it won't be a burden to everyone when the time comes. Gufeng said embarrassedly. Yunsheng, why are you back so late? Yunsheng didn't hide much from Gufeng and Abandon. She told them about what happened in the public herb field. Too despicable. It must be the people from the Combat Association. Let's go find Mentor Mary. When the little fatty Gufeng heard that the Combat Association had used such a despicable method, he was so angry that he waved his magic scepter and wanted to tell Mentor Mary about it. If it wasn't for Yunsheng's cleverness, she would definitely have been kicked out of the academy. It's too late. You've underestimated the people from the Combat Association. After listening, Abandon interrupted coldly. Go to the treatment room immediately. Yunsheng's heart skipped a beat. She understood what Abandon meant. The three of them immediately rushed to the treatment room. Half an hour ago, in the Combat Association, Chan Liener, who had just received the news, sat in the meeting room of the Magic Combat Association with a gloomy face. Chu-sen failed? Where is he now? Song Xiangru rushed into the meeting room after hearing the news. The Magic Combat Association had spies all over the academy. The incident that happened in the public herb field 15 minutes ago had already reached Song Xiangru's ears. Song Xiangru had already heard about Chen Lianer sending Chu-san to put ghost aphids in the public herb field. In her opinion, it wasn't a big deal. The Magic Academy was already used to the Combat Association bullying the potioneering department. She didn't expect Chu-san to be exposed in the public herb field. What was worse was that not only did he fail, but he also exposed the ghost aphids. At this moment, the academy already knew that Chu-san had released dark magic bugs in the public herb field. He's in the treatment room. Our people were among the students who were sent there. They said that he's still unconscious. After treatment, there's nothing wrong with his body. However, his leg bones are already broken and there are many burn wounds all over his body. Chen Lianer relaxed her brows and poured a cup of tea. Song Xiangru still didn't understand. That Chu-san was a distant relative of the Song family. Although Chu-san wasn't an intermediate student and was only a normal mage, his wind magic was very powerful among the beginner students. Because of this, he was chosen by Song Xiangru and recommended to Chen Lianer to be their pawn to suppress the potioneering department. Now isn't the time to investigate this. Using dark magic bugs privately is a big mistake. The academy has already started investigating the origin of the ghost aphids. If Chu-san wakes up and is questioned by the academy, they will definitely expose us. At that time we'll also be in trouble. Song Xiangru's face was anxious. Chen Lianer snorted. They won't be able to find out. Hearing Chen Lianer's words, Song Xiangru was suspicious. Lianer, what do you mean? A dead person won't confess anything. Go to the treatment room and find a few people to clean up the traces of the public herb field. Chen Lianer yawned, her beautiful face not showing the slightest trace of anxiety. Song Xiangru was slightly stunned, but quickly understood Chen Lianer's meaning. But, he's still my distant relative. Song Xiangru couldn't bear it. Either you die or he dies. Ruru, he's just a distant relative. Don't tell me you want to die with him. Chen Lianer's gaze was like a knife, scraping across Song Xiangru's face. Song Xiangru gritted her teeth and walked out of the meeting room without a word. Yunsheng. This time our grudge is really big. Chen Lianer said word by word. ***, some girls asked if there was a chapter missing. Sorry, I forgot to remind everyone. There were 2 overlapping chapters of 50, and the night before yesterday, there were already chapters 51 to 52. Girls who feel that the plot can't connect can go ***, and take a look. Chapter 124. Abandon's intuition was very accurate. When Yunsheng and the other 2 rushed to the treatment room, the room was already engulfed in flames. When the fire was extinguished, Chu-san, who had just been sent to the treatment room, was already burned to death. A corpse that had been burned beyond recognition was carried out. The cause of the fire was said to be a magic potion array in the treatment room that exploded for no reason. A few teachers from the academy rushed over and after examining Chu-san's body, they confirmed that he died of suffocation in the fire. In Chu-san's dormitory, they also found a book that recorded dark magic. It proved that Chu-san, a wind mage, secretly hated the academy because he failed the intermediate student examination twice. He secretly bought ghost aphids, prepared to take revenge on the academy, and put them in the academy's public medicine field. The whole incident was quickly defined as Chu-san's moral corruption, destroying the atmosphere of the academy, and had nothing to do with the Magic Combat Association. Chen Lianer even brought people to the Academic Affairs Office and apologized to the Academy in the name of the Magic Combat Association. On the surface, it was a dignified and impeccable act. The whole incident was completely pushed to Chu-san. He was first killed and then set on fire. After Yunsheng saw Chu-san's body, she came to this conclusion when she was alone with Gufeng and the others. Although his body was covered in burns, Chu-san's mouth and nose were very clean. If he really died of suffocation, there would be a large amount of soot around his mouth and nose. That's the Magic Combat Association's usual trick. You can't fight back against the Magic Combat Association alone. Compared to Gufeng's uneasiness, Abandon was much calmer. He had been in the Magic Academy longer than Gufeng and Yun Shang. To Abandon, the Royal Magic Academy was not much cleaner than the Wandong Casino, a place where dragons and snakes mixed together. After the incident, Teacher Mary even specifically asked Yun Shang about it. Yun Shang brushed off the matter cleanly, but in her heart, she was even more wary of Chen Liener and the others. She had originally thought that the Magic Combat Association was just an ordinary school bully. She didn't expect that they would be so merciless when it came to committing murder and arson. After Mentor Mary heard this, she did not say whether she believed it or not. She only earnestly warned Yun Shang, do not have a direct conflict with the Magic Combat Association. Behind them is not as simple as just the Chen and Song families. Behind them is the royal family. That Chen Liener is also a two-faced character. She has already been internally selected as the crown princess of Zhou State. You can't beat her. Royal family? Yun Shang didn't expect that a small combat association would have such a complicated relationship. Mentor Meili said earnestly, Yun Shang, you've only been in the Jade Capital for a short period of time. There are some things that you don't need to know, but you must know that there are a few places in the Jade Capital that you shouldn't offend. Because of Yun Songhai, Mentor Meili treated Yun Shang. Other than the feelings of a mentor towards a student, there was also a special kind of care and concern. There were some things that she had originally planned to tell Yun Shang only after she became an intermediate student. However, after the incident with Chu San, Mentor Meili had also discovered that Yun Shang was a vigilant and intelligent child. However, due to her age, she was still not thorough enough in dealing with people. In the Jade Capital, there are a few great powers that you cannot provoke. One is the royal family, one is the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, and the other is the Wuxia Limitless School. Mentor Meili said slowly, the dignity of the royal family could not be offended. This was something that any commoner knew. As for the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, it was the famous core of medicine in the entire continent. The reason why it could not be provoked was also very clear. But what was the reason for the Wuxia Limitless School? Speaking of the Wuxia Limitless School, we have to talk about your grandfather, the Marshal Saint Old General Yun Ba. The Wuxia Limitless School had nurtured many generals of the Zhou State, and it could be said that half of the generals of the Zhou State came from the Wuxia Limitless School. In the early years, there were rumors that the reason why the royal family supported the Magic Academy was to suppress the Wuxia Limitless School. Yun Shang, promise your teacher that you will never clash with Chen Liener and the others again. That way, you and your father's identities might be exposed. As a mage and a teacher of the Magic Academy, Mentor Meili had long been filled with righteous indignation towards the bureaucratic style of the Magic Imperial Academy. If not for the fact that as a potioneer, she needed a large amount of potion resources and could only rely on the Royal Magic Academy, she would have left the Magic Imperial Academy long ago. Yun Songhai and his daughter had no one to rely on and were not tolerated by the general's mansion. Mentor Meili was afraid that Yun Shang's talent would become a weakness for others because her father was once a dark mage. When Yun Shang heard this, she couldn't help but smile bitterly in her heart. She was afraid that Mentor Meili would be disappointed. If she knew that in the past few months, she had already offended the Medicine Emperor Pavilion and the royal family behind the Magic Combat Association. Mentor Meili, I can only promise you that if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If one day the Magic Combat Association hurts the interests of the people around me, I don't care if it's the royal family behind it or the entire Zhou State. Yun Shang will never be the slightest bit merciful. Yun Shang's little face at that moment burst forth with a kind of cold expression. Mentor Meili couldn't help but hold her breath. After the incident with Chu San, the Magic Combat Association seemed to be well behaved for a while. Whether it was Song Xiangru or Chen Liener, they didn't send anyone to harass Yun Shang. In the blink of an eye, several months had passed. Yun Shang successfully completed the first harvest of medicinal herbs in the public herb field. Because she was proficient in the rain-spreading spell, Earth Thorn and Magic Thorn, the herb field that Yun Shang was in charge of had the best harvest since the establishment of the Magic Academy. More than 60% of the herbs in the herb field had reached second grade, and 30% of the herbs had reached first grade. When the Magic Academy received this news, they gave Yun Shang a generous reward of a 2-year scholarship. In addition, they also gave the 13 sets of magic potions an additional 20 magic points. This made Mentor Meili very happy. After the harvest of the public herb field, there would be a 2-month break in cultivation to restore the fertility of the soil. This also meant that Yunshang could obtain a period of rest. During this time, apart from Yunshang, even Abandoned often went in and out of the Magic Academy's library to review the final examination. Who asked Yunshang to have a good foundation in her previous life. She could read 10 lines at a glance for the names and effects of various potions in the magic potion department, and had an incomparably firm memory. This made the blockhead Goofing envious and jealous to death. Without having to memorize all kinds of information, Yunshang spent most of her time in the magic tower. Not long after the incident of the puffed egg stealing card, the Magic Academy seemed to have no effect on the investigation and treated that incident as a normal case of loss of the card. Yunshang entered the magic tower again. This time she didn't dare to let the puffed egg jump around. With the help of the magic tower, Yunshang finally merged the magic thorn and her dark needle of medicine. On the original basis, the dark needle's effect was greatly enhanced, and it also had a paralyzing effect. Her intermediate earth magic Earth Meld also improved a lot. Now, her Earth Meld could move her about 10 meters in an instant. Half a year had passed. In another half a month, Yunshang and the 13 sets of magic potions would face the final examination of the Royal Magic Academy. However, before the final examination, Yunshang encountered a small interlude. Chapter 125. Half a month before the midterm examination, Goofing brought an intermediate student from the Magic Potions department to find Yunshang. Invite me to join the Magic Potions Association? Goofeng, I've said it before. I'm not a sociable person. I'm not interested in any of the various organizations in the academy. Yunshang's true mental age was already that of an adult. She really wasn't interested in participating in some association activity with a bunch of children and youths who were at most in their teens. Her impression of the Magic Combat Association had been terrible. When she heard that Goofing wanted to recommend her to join some Magic Potions interest group, Yunshang rejected him immediately. Yunshang, you're a student of the Magic Potions department. We share honor and disgrace. You must think of a way to help the Magic Potions Association in this midterm examination. Beside Goofeng, the Magic Potions department student with an anxious expression said righteously. He looked to be 13 or 14 years old. He had a messy hairstyle and his body emitted a smell similar to that of chemicals. He looked like a typical chemical freak. It was obvious that he was a potions nerd who spent all his time in the Magic Potions laboratory. Goofing didn't know many people in the Magic Potions department, but he was very interested in magic potions. Therefore, not long after joining the Royal Magic Academy, Goofing joined a small association in the academy, the Magic Potions Association. The Magic Potions Association was really small compared to the 100 or so members of the Magic Combat Association. Including Goofing and this Magic Potions freak in front of him, who was said to be the association's chairman, Andrew, there were only 5 people. This was already the basic number of members that the Royal Magic Academy required to form an association. Yunshang, I really had no choice this time. I only brought Chairman Andrew to invite you to join the Magic Potions Association. As long as you're willing to join the association, Chairman Andrew will agree to let you become its chairman. If you don't join the association, the Magic Potions Association may very well be disbanded. You must help. Teacher Mary is also an honorary consultant of the Magic Potions Association. Goofing's face was bitter as he begged. Goofing had wanted to invite Yunshang to join the association after witnessing the results of Yunshang's previous attempt. Unfortunately, Yunshang had always rejected him outright. According to the usual practice of the Royal Magic Academy, every association had to present the results of the past year during the final examination. This way, the association would be able to receive financial aid from the academy, based on their performance in the past year. To the Combat Association, the result would be to display a new combat magic in front of all the teachers and students. To the Magic Potion Association, it would mean to concoct a new magic potion on the spot. In the past few years, the Magic Potion Association had not performed well in the development of new potions, so the funds of the Magic Potion Association had always been tight. As for the combat department, They had always claimed that the Magic Potion Association did not make any significant contributions. They had taken up the Academy's limited activity rooms and funds, and had repeatedly applied to have the Magic Potion Association shut down. The school also said that if the Magic Medicine Association did not perform well this time, they would ban it. After the Magic Potion Association received this news, through Wuxia, Gufeng and the rest's repeated research, as well as teacher Mary's secret guidance, they had finally developed a new magic potion. They were prepared to amaze the Academy during the midterm examination. Since there's a new magic potion, what difference does it make if there's one more or one less? Yunsheng was not willing to show off her talent in magic potions, so as to avoid attracting unnecessary attention. One of our potioneers accidentally injured his hand during a combat magic class yesterday. He won't be able to use magic for the next few days. This magic potion needs 5 people to concoct, and now we're short one person. Wuxia was filled with righteous indignation. Needless to say, this was also the work of the combat department. Gufeng followed Yunsheng's instructions and did not tell Wuxia that Yunsheng could concoct a high-grade potion of agility. However, he vaguely told Wuxia that Yunsheng was especially outstanding in the field of stabilizing magic potions. As everyone knew, stabilizing magic potions was the last step in the concoction of magic potions, and also the most difficult. There were many similarities between magical medicines and ancient medicines in terms of their medicinal effects, but there was a huge difference in terms of refinement. Ancient medicine was like modern Chinese medicine, which emphasized the balance of yin and yang. Magic potions, on the other hand, emphasized the fusion of various magic potion ingredients and magical elements. The final step for stabilizing magic potions was to fuse the various magical elements to form a finished magic potion. That was also the most crucial step. It required the potioneer to have a good grasp of the magical elements and the ingredients of the potion. Only then could they perfectly control each magical element at the last moment to prevent the magical elements from becoming chaotic and causing the potion to explode. The injured potioneer from the Magic Medicine Association was originally in charge of the last step of stabilizing magic potions. Now that he was injured, and Wuxia heard that Yunsheng was outstanding in this area, he came knocking on her door uneasily. Our opponent is the Magic Combat Association. If I remember correctly, the Magic Combat Association's advisor is Cong Song? Yunsheng and the Magic Combat Association had a grudge against each other for a long time. The so-called friend of the enemy was the enemy. This time, even if she didn't give face to Gufeng, she still had to give face to Mentor Mary. Alright, I'll agree to participate in this concoction. However, Presidentin, you don't have to give up your position as president. I'm used to being lazy, so I'm not suitable to be a president. First, tell me, what magic potion are you going to concoct? Yunsheng agreed to their request. We haven't decided what kind of potion we're going to concoct yet. The two looked bitter. There was only half a month left until the final assessment, and these two medicine fools still didn't know what kind of potion they were going to concoct? Yunsheng resisted the urge to ridicule them. How about this? I have a potion that I accidentally came across. It's a magic potion that can repair one's magical soul. It's called the Moon Goddess's Praise. The Moon Goddess's spiritual water was a high-grade magic potion. Its effects were about the same as the marrow cleansing pill used by warriors. The difference between the two was that the Moon Goddess's spiritual water was for mages, while the marrow cleansing pill was for warriors. Since the establishment of the Magic Medicine Association, they had never challenged the concoction of a high-grade magic potion. This time the entire association was full of fighting spirit, ready to show their faces at the final assessment. Yunsheng finished speaking and handed a magic potion formula to Wuxia. She even reminded him, "You must remember, this magic potion formula must not be leaked." A magic potion formula was the core of a magic potion. If it was leaked, the value of the magic potion would be greatly reduced. Wuxia glanced at the ingredients on the formula. Seeing that there were no major problems, he casually kept it. 10 days later, the most important final assessment of the year in the Imperial Magic Academy began. Yunsheng, Gufeng and Abandon all took part in the basic magic medicine, beginner magic and magic combat. In the combat assessment, after fusing with the Lightning Eel's Soul Stone, Gufeng passed the magic combat course, which was his biggest headache, without any mishaps. After 2 days of the final assessment, It was time for the Magic Medicine Association and the Magic Combat Association to duel. Chapter 126. The Royal Magic Academy's Faculty Assembly was one of the highlights of the year. On the day of the assembly, not only were all the students of the Royal Magic Academy required to return to school, the Combat Department and Potion Department would also present the results of the past year's Magic Combat and Potion Department. The Magic Potion Association and the Combat Association had made ample preparations for this demonstration day. The students used simple magic to tidy up their uniforms. Even Abandon was reprimanded by Professor Mary to change into a new green magic cloak. After the 3 members of Group 13 had their breakfast, they gathered at the square. The results of the theory and combat assessment from 2 days ago had already been announced. Goofing squeezed into the crowd, sweating profusely. After he saw the results, he shouted happily, "Yunshang, you're first in the potion department for basic potion. You're also in the top 10 for basic magic and top 20 for combat practical. Overall, you're third in both departments." Although Tsang Song was the examiner for the combat practical, the other examiner for the combat practical was Feng Kuo. Therefore, even though Tsang Song had desperately given Yunshang the lowest score, Feng Kuo had waved his pen and the results had gone up. When Tsang Song expressed his dissatisfaction, Feng Kuo glared at him and roared, "I'm just being protective. What's wrong? Or do you want to have a match with me?" Tsang Song could only stare at Feng Kuo. He did not dare to have a direct confrontation with Feng Kuo. The students of the combat department were also having a toothache. On the other hand, the students of the potion department were gloating. The results of the 3 members of Group 13 were pretty good this time. Abandon's results in the basics of potions class were average, but his results in the practical combat class were something that even Tsang Song couldn't find fault with. His overall results were ranked 13th, and even Gu Feng, who was at the bottom of the pack, was ranked 51st in both classes. Group 13 had finally washed away the name of being at the bottom of the pack for 10,000 years. Professor Mary's face was smiling like a blooming flower. At about 9 in the morning, the Imperial Magic Academy's final examination was about to begin in the plaza of the Imperial Magic Academy, which was the faculty assembly. Since there were 2 major departments in the Magic Academy, the respective mentors came forward and presented the results of each department in the past year. The format was similar to a work summary and a study report. When Yunshang was studying in a medical university in her previous life, she was most tired of these kinds of gatherings. In addition, she had been busy thinking about the refinement of the moon goddess's praise and had not slept a wink. Therefore, she could not help but enter a state of meditation after listening for a while. Unexpectedly, this meditation caused a big trouble for Yunshang. She couldn't hear clearly what the 2 mentors were talking about. It wasn't until Goofing pushed her that Yunshang woke up. She heard everyone around her kneeling on the ground, but she was the only one standing upright. In the square, hundreds of pairs of eyes were staring at him. On the high platform in front of him, the mentors of the Magic Academy, including Mentor Mary and Mentor Feng Kuo, were all looking at him worriedly. Numerous pairs of mocking eyes looked over. On the high platform, a young man stood out like a crane in a flock of chickens. At first glance, that young man gave Yunshang a sense of familiarity. He was about 10 years old and wore an apricot yellow robe. The robe was gilded with a 4-clawed dragon pattern. His face was handsome, but there was a sinister look in his eyes, which made Yunshang feel uncomfortable. Beside the young man stood Chen Liener, who looked like a peacock. Yunshang was thinking in her heart, why did this person look so familiar? Where had she seen him before? How dare you not kneel when you see the crown prince? Chen Liener and the others took the opportunity to scold him. It turned out that after the 2 mentors finished their report, the Crown Prince of Zhou State, Yi Balian, who had just returned half a month ago, rushed over. Yi Balian had just returned to the academy when he heard Chen Liener and the others adding fuel to the fire and stirring up trouble. As the president of the Magic Combat Association, Yi Balian had always looked down on the Magic Potion Department. He had long wanted to ban the Magic Potion Department. Today, when he saw a mere Magic Potion Department beginner student who dared to doze off when he was on stage to give a speech, he could not help but be furious. Seeing a group of people from the Magic Combat Department eyeing her covetously, Yunshang then remembered that she was an ancient person. It was just that she had never truly bowed and kowtowed after coming to the boundless land. As a modern person, she could kneel to the heavens and kneel to her parents and elders. However, she was extremely unwilling to kneel to a crown prince who was obviously not a good person. Just as Yun Sheng was pondering whether she should take the risk of being disrespectful by standing there, she heard a school guard running over. That school guard hurriedly said, "Reporting to Your Highness, reporting to the Dean, Wuxia Infinity Hall's Deputy Director, Lord Qiqian, has brought more than 10 warriors to seek an audience outside the academy. He said that he is here to observe the final examination of the Magic Academy." When this was said, Crown Prince Yibalian and the Magic Academy's dean both had grave expressions. As everyone knew, although magic and martial arts were like well water that did not interfere with river water, ever since the Royal Magic Academy was established, especially after Zhou State's Crown Prince Yibalian entered the Magic Academy, they used all sorts of names to obtain all sorts of resources for the Royal Magic Academy. Wuxia Infinity Hall, which had always been a prominent existence in Zhou State, had some objections to this. They had always been at odds with the Royal Magic Academy and competed with each other in all sorts of situations. This time, the Royal Magic Academy's final examination did not invite anyone from Wuxia Infinity Hall. Their rash arrival clearly showed that they did not come with good intentions. Seeing this scene, Zhou State's Crown Prince Yibalian, who was about to explode in anger, put away his angry expression and put on a noble face. "You may dispense with the formalities. The Royal Magic Academy is this Crown Prince's alma mater. There is no need to care about these complicated formalities. Since the Academy has honored guests as a member of the Academy, this Crown Prince will naturally receive them as a host." Yibalian waved his hand. Chan Lian-er and the others at the side glared fiercely at Yun Sheng. Hearing Yibalian's hypocritical tone, Yun Sheng sneered in her heart. However, this also happened to save her the strength to kneel. Yun Sheng suddenly remembered why she felt that Yibalian was somewhat familiar. Zhou State's Crown Prince's name was Yibalian. His facial features were somewhat similar to Night Fox's. However, it was only similar. When the two were compared, Night Fox's temperament and appearance were much higher. This Zhou State's Crown Prince looked like an inferior product that was crudely processed. Although Night Fox had never mentioned his identity, it was not difficult to guess that his background was not ordinary from his words and actions. However, Yun Sheng did not expect that he was actually a member of Zhou State's royal family. Thinking of Night Fox, Yun Sheng could not help but think in her heart, that twisted fellow should have already recovered by now. Yun Sheng's mind was filled with wild thoughts. On the other side, the principal of the Royal Magic Academy had already gone to welcome the people from Wuxia Infinity Hall. Chapter 127. In the blink of an eye, he heard a group of martial artists dressed in martial attire rushing over. The leader was a middle-aged martial artist with tiger eyes and leopard forehead. The newcomers were all dressed in light golden martial artist robes with a pure gold qilin belt around their waists. Although they were only in their teens, their gazes were restrained and their auras were vigorous. All of them had already reached the great martial master realm. When the dozen or so people walked, their footsteps were orderly. When they landed, their footsteps were even more uniform. It was obvious that they were well trained. As expected of the #1 martial arts school in Zhou State, the people of Wuxia Limitless School. "I heard that the Imperial Magic Academy is holding the final examination banquet today. Wuxia Limitless School's battle strength has led 12 disciples to observe." Zhou State's martial ancestor battle strength was originally a famous tiger general in Zhou State. He was the #1 general under the martial saint Old General. The so-called martial ancestor, as the name implied, was a person with outstanding strength who was able to create a martial arts school. However, for some reason, when battle strength was in his prime, he suddenly resigned from his military duties and joined Wuxia Limitless School, becoming the deputy director of Wuxia Limitless School. Under his leadership, coupled with the many years of foundation of the Limitless School, he had nurtured many famous martial artists in Zhou State. Seeing that battle strength had personally brought his elites over, the principal of the Imperial Magic Academy, a skinny old magician, came forward to welcome them politely. Looking at the dozen or so martial artists of Wuxia Limitless School, they had a look of disdain as they casually sized up the students of the Imperial Magic Academy. It was no wonder that Zhou State's Wuxuan Limitless School was a famous martial arts school in the continent, while the Imperial Magic Academy was a bottom-tier character in the continent's magic academies. Among the magic students present, the highest cultivation was only a great magician. Compared to Wuxuan Limitless School, who were all great martial masters, there were even a few people whose cultivation was above martial saint. The deputy director and the principal of the two sides exchanged greetings, exchanging meaningless pleasantries. Yun Sheng mixed in with the beginner magic students, secretly sizing up the guests of Wuxuan Limitless School. This was already the third time that Yun Sheng had come into contact with people from Wuxuan Limitless School. The last two times Tang Yu, and the other time the group of guards she had met at Wanlong's of the Eye. Every time it would overturn Yun Sheng's understanding of Wu Profound Limitless School. Originally, Yun Sheng thought that the Martial Profound Limitless School was just like the Imperial Magic Academy, recruiting some hedonistic disciples. After all, Tang Yu was a member of the Martial Profound Limitless School. Who knew that after meeting a few times, Yun Sheng would discover that the strength of the Wu Profound Limitless School was shockingly strong. Out of the 12 martial warriors, 4 or 5 of them were actually stronger than the martial saint, and were even stronger than the guards of the Wanlong gambling house. Warriors were naturally stronger than magicians in terms of physique. It was just that warriors were better at close combat, while magicians were better at long-range combat. It was hard to tell who was stronger between a warrior and a mage in a short period of time. On the boundless continent there was a general comparison of strength. Martial artists were divided into martial students, martial soldiers, martial grandmasters, martial saints, martial saints, martial saints, and martial gods, which corresponded to the 9 levels of magicians. Warriors were equivalent to great magicians, while martial saints were equivalent to great magicians. Martial saints were equivalent to great magicians, which was equivalent to the strength of an ordinary teacher in the Royal Magic Academy. With such a lineup, coming to observe the final examination of the Royal Magic Academy was simply like watching a monkey show. Just by standing there, the people of Wu Profound Limitless School gave the students of the Magic Academy a lot of psychological pressure. Among them, there were 2 youths who were tall and straight like 2 javelins, who were the most eye-catching. Both of them were 12 or 13 years old, but they were already as tall as adult men. One of them had a fair complexion, a face like cream, and a pair of eyes that always had a smile in them. The other person had a dark complexion, eyes like torches, and a murderous aura. These 2 people happened to be the ones that Yun Sheng had noticed earlier, the martial saints above martial saints. When the people from the Magic Combat Association saw these warriors, their faces became even more gloomy. A rare blush appeared on Song Xiangru's face. She stole a glance at the handsome youth with dark complexion, then said to Chan Lianer in a low voice, "It's Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai." Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai, the 2 of them, one black and one white, were both outstanding young talents in the Jade Capital. Among them, Bu Jiuxiao was good at martial arts, while Chang Bai was good at strategy. Both of them were good-looking people, so they were the hot topics of discussion among the young ladies of the imperial capital. Song Xiangru had always had a good impression of the cool and handsome Bu Jiuxiao. Chan Lianer, on the other hand, smiled awkwardly. She couldn't be more familiar with these 2 people. Because she was the granddaughter of Elder Chan Lian, had studied in the imperial study for a while before she was 6 years old. At that time, the current Crown Prince Yi Baiming and the former Crown Prince Yi Baiming were playmates at the same time. However, after Yi Baiming was deposed, Yi Baiming was detained in the palace. Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai, however, broke off their relationship with Chan Lianer because of Yi Baiming. Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai were both descendants of generals. After leaving the imperial study, they joined the Wuxuan Limitless School, while Chan Lian, and the current crown prince entered the Imperial Magic Academy together. Yun Sheng, a commoner, naturally did not know about the relationship between these people. However, she was good at observing people's expressions, so she could see the enmity between the crown prince of Zhou State, Chan Lian, and the guests from the Wuxuan Limitless School. "Principal, please forgive me. The reason why I came uninvited this time is to facilitate the interaction between the martial arts dojo and the Magic Academy, and to promote our relationship." At this moment, the martial sect had already finished exchanging greetings with the principal of the Magic Academy. He seemed to have unintentionally glanced at the magic students, and when he realized that other than the crown prince, All of them were only intermediate students. His eyes couldn't help but reveal a hint of disappointment. However, that was only a flash of light as he cupped his fists and bowed. Since the Wuxia Limitless School was only here to observe, the principal naturally couldn't refuse. He ordered people to prepare more than 10 chairs, and even invited the Crown Prince of Zhou State, Yi Baiming, to the VIP seats to sit together with the teachers. The students of the Magic Academy were all discussing amongst themselves. Yunshang's position was not far from the VIP seats, especially from the students of the Wuxia Limitless School, who were only a few dozen meters away. Seeing that the people standing in front of him were only beginner mages with low cultivations, Changbai couldn't help but roll his eyes, and unscrupulously whispered into Bu Jiuxiao's ear. "Tisk, it's such a hot day. Why did the deputy director drag us here? To watch a bunch of rookies use magic?" Changbai was lively and active, and had a straightforward temper. He hated going out on a hot day, and usually in the martial arts dojo he loved to slack off the most. Bu Jiuxiao, on the other hand, was the opposite. He was young and mature, so even if he sat under the sun, he was still as steady as a rock. It should be to prepare for that matter. I heard that the martial arts dojos of the other countries are planning to bring mages and even summoners with them. The words of the two floated into Yunshang's ears. Yunshang was just about to listen carefully when the principal of the Magic Academy announced that the Magic Fighting Association's demonstration was about to begin. Chapter 128. Wuxia Wuji School had also come prepared. They had already heard that there were two factions in the Royal Magic Academy, the Magic Combat Department and the Magic Potion Department. The two factions had their own associations. Under the leadership of Zhou State's Crown Prince Yi Bailian and Vice President Chen Lian, the Magic Combat Association was a flower vase supported by silver and pills. However, the Magic Potion Department couldn't even compare to a broken jar, let alone a flower vase. The arrival of Wuxia Wuji School caught the Royal Magic Academy a little off guard. In order to not be disrespectful in front of the distinguished guests, Crown Prince Yi Bailian suggested that the Magic Potion Association, which was originally scheduled to appear first, be adjusted to appear later. The Magic Combat Association sent out Song Xiangru and a male student. Both of them were intermediate students. Song Xiangru was beautiful. She had changed into a brand new magic robe for today's magic demonstration, making her look even more dainty. The male student didn't look amazing, but as soon as he went on stage, he flashed a magic scepter with a two-colored soul stone inlaid in his hand. This showed that he was a dual elemental great magician. It could be seen that these two people were second only to Crown Prince Yi Bailian and Chen Lian in the Magic Combat Association. Song Xiangru brushed her hair, her bright eyes moving, and her delicate voice was as pleasant as an oriole's. Distinguished guests and students, the Magic Combat Association has been following the Academy's style of study in the past year, dedicated to researching new magic. Today, the two of us represent the Magic Combat Association to demonstrate a new type of combined magic. As soon as these words were spoken, the scene was in an uproar, especially on the Magic Combat Department's side. On the other hand, the students of the Magic Potion Department were dejected. Only a few members of the Magic Potion Association, including Gufeng and Anjia, still maintained some confidence. The dean of the Magic Academy also had a look of appreciation and kept nodding. This was the first time in the academy that an intermediate student could use combined magic. Combined attack magic was a very special kind of magic. It referred to the tacit cooperation between two mages of similar strength, and the combination of complementary attributes or magic of the same attributes, thus creating a brand new or even more advanced magic. The combined magic of two great magicians, if coordinated well, could produce an effect not inferior to that of a high-level magic. Song Xiangru was a fire magician, while the male student was a rare fire and wood magician. The wood element was one of the secondary magic elements. Wood could aid fire, which was why the two of them were able to successfully form a joint attack. After Song Xiangru's announcement, the two of them did not make a move for a long time. At this moment, Chen Lianer, who was sitting beside the crown prince, suddenly said, "Your Highness, although the combination magic is powerful, it is only a demonstration. It is hard to see its power." Lianer boldly said, "I heard that a few months ago, when the crown prince was on a diplomatic mission to another country, He captured a rank 5 Dark Wind Leopard. Why don't we ask the Crown Prince to lend the Dark Wind Leopard to test the power of our combined magic? This is the only way to show the true abilities of the Magic Combat Department. What Chen Lianer meant was that the magic used by the Potioneering Department couldn't even be considered magic. Zhou State's Crown Prince, Yi Balian, was someone who had tender feelings for the fairer sex. Naturally, he agreed without hesitation. He gave an order and ordered the guards to carry out a beast cage made of well-tempered steel. The onlookers were envious of Chen Lianer and Yi Balian's flirtatious glances. However, in the eyes of Bu and Cheng, it was very glaring. A pair of adulterous men and women. However, these adulterous men and women had extraordinary statuses. Cheng and Bu could only suppress their anger. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a voice as soft as a mosquito quietly floated over. Sluts are so pretentious. The two of them were curious and looked over. Good scolding. That person who didn't want his life dared to be so righteous and bold to vent his anger. However, they saw that the voice came from the Potioneering Department's camp. Someone was scolding disdainfully. The one who spoke was a pretty little girl with a petite and dainty figure. As she spoke, she was discussing with a short and fat male student beside her. Her expression was very lively, and it seemed that she didn't put the Crown Prince and Chen Lianer in her eyes at all. Zhou Xiao, look at that person. Cheng Bai glanced over. His attention was originally attracted by Yun Shang. However, when he looked over, he saw that Abandon was standing not far away from Yun Shang. Under the bright sun, Abandon's tight green magic cloak was indeed a little eye-catching. Bu Jiuxiao looked over as well. He saw that there was a strange magic wave around Abandon. At this moment, the Magic Combat Department's demonstration had already begun. Buzz. The beast cage landed on the ground and made a dull sound like an ancient bell. For the safety of the other students, Song Song went forward and set up a magic boundary. The boundary was transparent and looked like a huge fish tank. While protecting the safety of the surrounding students, it didn't affect the viewing of the magic combat. Song Xiangru and that male student with 2 departments, as well as the beast cage, formed an independent fighting arena. The leopard race was born to be agile among the magical beasts. This dark wind leopard had moss-green fur, and didn't appear dispirited after being locked up for a long time. Song Xiangru appeared to be very confident. She yelled and spun the magic scepter in her hand. The first magic soul stone on the scepter lit up and shot out a powerful flame. Like a bonfire that had been poured with oil, the bright flame shot out like a rocket and rushed towards the beast cage that was as thick as an arm. In the beast cage, the provoked dark wind leopard's fur stood on end. Its throat moved and it roared angrily, revealing its ferocious beast aura. Boom! The fiery flame hit the beast cage like a rocket. Under the gaze of hundreds of pairs of eyes, the sturdy beast cage was quickly engulfed by the flames like a piece of paper. The tempered steel melted into molten iron and burned a huge hole in the side of the beast cage. After being imprisoned for a long time, the abyss wind leopard, who had been crawling on the ground, took the opportunity and let out a deafening roar. It bent its knees and leaped out of the cage, like a taut bowstring that was suddenly straightened, and rushed out. The beast cage cracked and the flying steel bars hit the magic boundary, causing it to deform. The dark wind leopard's eyes were bloodshot and its 4 limbs slowly stretched out. Magic patterns that looked like cloud patterns appeared on its body. Battle mode. This dark wind leopard is enraged. At this time, the students of Wushuan Everlasting School became interested. A 5th-ranked dark wind leopard was comparable to a master magician. They wanted to see how the 2 great magicians would defeat the dark wind leopard. Bastard, see how this lady will deal with you. Song Xiangru gave the male student a look. The 2 of them waved their magic scepters at the same time and chanted. A magic array appeared under each of their feet. The 2 magic arrays rotated and intertwined. Lava python, come out. The magic elements in their magic scepters fused together, and a giant python with a bloody mouth appeared. Chapter 129. The appearance of the lava python created by the combination magic stunned everyone present. When the students of the Royal Magic Academy's combat department saw it, they all cheered excitedly. However, the students of the potion department were the complete opposite. All of them had their heads drooped and were very dispirited. The more outstanding the combat department was, the greater the pressure on the potion department's demonstration would be. Song Xiangru and the male student had a proud look on their faces. The lava python was about 2 meters long, and its body was as thick as a basin mouth. The colorful snake patterns on its body could be seen clearly. It was like a small mountain rising from the ground as it coiled in the magic space. Its body emitted a scorching aura, causing sparks to appear in the space. Magical imitation was an intermediate advanced magic. Song Xiangru and the male student were both great magicians who had just advanced this year. If it was just one person's strength, it would not be enough to reach the level of magical imitation. It could only be formed by combining the strength of two people. An offensive phantom beast created by magic was no less powerful than a real giant python magical beast. However, in Yun Shang's opinion, this was not the case. Although Yi Huli's fire wolf, which Yun Shang had seen before, was not as big as this lava python in terms of control, whether it was magic incantation or agility, the fire wolf was more agile than this lava python. This could be seen from the way Song Xiangru and the male student supported it. The tall lava python raised its head and looked down at the abyss wind leopard arrogantly. In its eyes, the abyss wind leopard could not withstand a single blow. The abyss wind leopard's eyes were filled with anger. Suddenly, the magical beast and the phantom beast moved at the same time. In the magical barrier, red flames and green wind shadows were as fast as shuttles, shuttling back and forth in the magical barrier. Following the movements of the abyss wind leopard and the lava python, Song Xiangru and the male student also jumped around in the magical barrier. The students of the Royal Magic Academy could only barely see the situation in the barrier. The abyss wind leopard jumped up high and a magical array formed in midair. Countless wind blades filled the sky. Wind intermediate magic wind blades filled the sky. Countless scythe-shaped wind blades slashed towards the lava python, successfully blocking its attack. The giant python was enraged. It angrily swung its tail like a long whip, tearing apart the wind blades and lashing towards the abyss wind leopard. After a while, both the dark wind leopard and the lava python still had some strength left. However, Song Xiangru and the male student, who were controlling the lava pythons with their combined spells, showed signs of fatigue. Not only did they have to control the lava python, but they also had to constantly dodge the wind blades of the dark wind leopard. As a result, their stamina was greatly depleted. Magicians were inferior to warriors in terms of physical strength. The abyss wind leopard didn't show any signs of weakness. It launched a second spell. When it launched the spell, the cunning abyss wind leopard leaped behind Song Xiangru and clawed at her back. Song Xiangru screamed in agony. Her back was immediately covered in blood, and the combination spell was immediately ineffective. The lava python turned into a ball of flame. Seeing this, the male student turned pale with fright. Just as he was about to cast another spell, a sky full of wind blades swept towards him. "Teacher, save me!" The male student cried out in alarm. His body had already been hit by a wind blade, forming a strong magical wave that smashed into the magic barrier. The entire barrier made a sound like glass shattering. Oh no! Song Song didn't expect today's battle to be so intense. The magic barrier he had just set up was directly broken. Inside the barrier, Song Xiangru and the male student were already pale with fright. Inside the barrier, Song Xiangru was already pale with fright. As soon as the magic barrier shattered, the magical elements that had gone out of control were like arrows, crazily flying towards the surrounding students. The intermediate students were still fine. They were still able to stabilize themselves and avoid being injured by the fragments of the barrier. However, the beginner students weren't so lucky. Many of them were directly hit by the magical elements like arrows and fell to the ground. To make matters worse, the abyss wind leopard jumped out of the barrier and pounced towards a small group of people. Teacher Mary focused her gaze and saw that the abyss wind leopard was pouncing towards 3 of her students. They were Yun Shang, Gufeng, and Abandon from Group 13. The entire barrier made a sound like glass shattering. The students from Wuxia Wuji who were not far away from the 3 of them didn't change their expressions in the midst of the chaos. However, they didn't have any intention of helping either. Seeing such a scene, Teacher Mary couldn't help but gnash her teeth. Just when everyone thought that the members of Group 13 were going to be killed on the spot. Among the 3 of them, Abandon, who was wearing a dark green magic cloak, stood in front of them. With a flash of light, the abyss wind leopard that was pouncing towards them suddenly changed direction. It was as if it had hit a wall. It flew out diagonally and flew towards the people from the dojo not far away. Combat Strength's eyebrows didn't even twitch. He shouted in a deep voice, "Zhou Xiao." Bu Zhou body flashed, and in a flash, he had already stood out with a short knife in his hand. The short knife was also strangely long. It was only as thick as 2 fingers. It was hard to tell what material the blade was made of. One only felt that it was as clear as ice and crystal. Looking at it in the daytime, it emitted a threatening sharp light. Bu Zhou flew up with the short knife in his hand. With a wave, a snow sickle appeared in the air. One could faintly hear the sound of wind and thunder. The fragments of the barrier were swept up by the wind of the knife and instantly turned into dust. The abyss wind leopard's body and head were immediately split into 2 halves. The round head rolled on the ground. Bu Zhou nimbly put away his knife. His brows slightly furrowed. He didn't look at the abyss wind leopard, but looked at the few beginner students who had made the abyss wind leopard change direction for no reason. He saw that the magic cloak warrior in front had already moved aside. A short and chubby magic warrior was holding a magic scepter in his hand. His hand was still slightly trembling. Just now, in the instant when he killed the abyss wind leopard, Bu Zhou had also seen the situation in front of him clearly. When the abyss wind leopard pounced towards the 3 of them, a strange spherical ball of light appeared. The ball of light looked very fragile, but it also seemed to have an inconceivable power that instantly bounced off the abyss wind leopard. "Gufeng, Yin Shengqi, are the 3 of you all right?" Mentor Meili hurriedly stepped forward and checked on his 3 students. At the same time, he looked at the people from Wuxia Limitless School warily. "Light attribute defensive magic?" The vice head of Wuxia Limitless School had a face full of surprise. As if he had discovered a new continent, he stared at Gufeng without letting go. Mentor Meili had also noticed the light sphere. Gufeng had originally planned to tell Mentor Meili about his new magic after the final assessment. Who would have thought that it would amaze the world with a single brilliant feat? After a while, the ball of light slowly disappeared. Song Xiangru and the male student were supported by the people from the fighting department. Their faces were as pale as paper, and they no longer looked as arrogant as before. Chapter 130. The appearance of the light elemental magic and the defensive sphere allowed the Royal Magic Academy, who had lost a lot of face, to regain some of it. Although the combined magic attack had failed, they had discovered a new magic. This was really a good thing of losing a sesame seed and picking up a watermelon. The light sphere was only a beginner defensive magic, but the defensive sphere was a new magic. Furthermore, it was comprehended by a mage. The dean of the Royal Magic Academy was beaming, and the students of the Magic Potion Department were also astonished. They didn't expect that the usually inconspicuous Gufeng would actually discover a new magic. Gufeng couldn't react to the sudden turn of events. He didn't want to be in the limelight in front of everyone. Just now, when the abyss wind leopard pounced over, Abandon's reaction was the fastest. While Gufeng was still in a daze, he heard Yunshang's reminder. "Gufeng, the sphere." Gufeng had always listened to Yunshang's words. At that time, he didn't think much of it and raised the magic scepter in his hand. Now that everyone was staring at him, he felt a little embarrassed. Chen Lianer forced a smile and accompanied the injured Song Xiangru to the treatment room to check on her injuries. Crown Prince Yi Belian's expression wasn't very good. As the president of the Magic Combat Association, the failure of the Combat Association was like a slap to his face. However, he didn't understand why the abyss wind leopard, which had been tamed by the royal beast tamer, would suddenly become wild. Chen Lianer had already talked to him about today's combined magic attack with the Combat Association, and had specially chosen this abyss wind leopard. Fortunately, Yi Belian was also concerned about the overall situation. He stood up and comforted the frightened students, not forgetting to say, "Wuxia Everlasting School is really something. Zhou Zhao's 9 Heavens / already has the demeanor of a grandmaster." What he meant was that he didn't think much of the Magic Potion Department, as if he didn't see Gufeng's new magic at all. Bu Zhou's sword technique just now was called Battle of the 9 Heavens. Martial artists were different from magicians. Every time a magician advanced to a higher realm, he would comprehend a different type of magic. However, after a martial artist broke through to martial master, Most of them would specialize in developing a personal battle technique. A person's battle skill differed from person to person. Bu Jiuxiao's Skybreaker was the battle skill that made him famous. Legend had it that it was divided into 9 blades. He had only comprehended the second blade, but he was able to kill a rank 5 dark-wined leopard with a single blade. Its power was astonishing. Combat strength inevitably had to be courteous. Bu Jiuxiao did not say a word. The Abyss Wind Leopard had already been carried away by the Crown Prince's attendants, so he didn't have the chance to investigate the doubts in his heart. He was very clear about the power of his saber technique. He originally only wanted to repel the Dark Wind Leopard, but he didn't expect that the Dark Wind Leopard's reaction speed was much slower than usual, and it couldn't dodge his saber. It was as if the Abyss Wind Leopard had been severely injured. With Bu Jiuxiao's eyesight, he could determine that the 2 great magicians from the Royal Magic Academy didn't cause too much damage to the Abyss Wind Leopard. The Abyss Wind Leopard was still normal when the magic barrier shattered. However, when it pounced towards the few students from the Magic Potion Department and was blocked by the Sphere of Light, it became a little strange. It was impossible for a light magic warrior to use 2 types of magic at the same time, one for attack and one for defense. Therefore, it could only be said that one of the 2 magic warriors with Gufing had done something. Bu Jiuxiao secretly sized up the other 2 members of Group 13. It seemed that the magic warrior in magic robes was the most likely to have done something. While Bu Jiuxiao was pondering, Yun Sheng heaved a sigh of relief when she saw the Abyss Wind Leopard being carried away. It was really dangerous just now. She had a premonition when the magic barrier was on the verge of collapse. In the instant that she reminded Gufing to release the Sphere of Light, she quietly used the dark thorns that she had been practicing over the past few days. The result of the fusion of the soul-healing needles and the dark thorns was that the traces of the dark elements were almost completely concealed. An invisible dark thorn needle pierced the Abyss Wind Leopard's forehead. After the dark thorn needle entered the body, because it was a dark thorn needle, it would slowly melt with the blood. In addition to Bu Jiuxiao's last strike, Yun Sheng was certain that even if Crown Prince Yibalian found someone to investigate the cause of the Abyss Wind Leopard's death, they would only be able to find the wound caused by piercing 9 heavens. Just now the Crown Prince and everyone from Wushuan Wuji School were really shocked. The combat department's demonstration will come to an end first. After a short rest, our Magic Potion Association will refine medicine in front of everyone. The Dean of the Royal Magic Academy had already gotten wind of this before today. He had also prepared a double insurance today. The Combat Association had failed miserably, but the Magic Potion Association wouldn't fail again. At this time, Gufing had also recovered from his earlier surprise. He and Yun Sheng temporarily separated from abandon, and prepared to refine the Moon Goddess's praise with the Magic Potion Association. In the treatment room, Song Xiangru's face was full of dejection. She had wanted to show her face in front of Bu Jiuxiao today, but who knew that she would end up making a fool of herself and embarrass the Combat Association instead. What she couldn't accept even more was that the Magic Potion Association's brat had actually comprehended a new magic. If the Magic Potion Association successfully refined a new magic potion later, then it was very possible that the Combat Association's dominant position in the Royal Magic Academy would change after today. Lian-er, I'm very sorry. I didn't think that I would fail. After sending Song Xiangru to the treatment room, Chen Lian-er neither condemned nor comforted Song Xiangru. Her expression was uncertain, and no one knew what she was thinking. What's the use of apologies? It has already happened. Right now we can only pray that the Magic Potion Association will make a similar mistake. Chen Lian-er was modest and polite in front of outsiders, but in reality, she was a narrow-minded person. She wanted to be first in everything. She would never allow the Magic Potion Association to take advantage of this opportunity to counterattack and seize the initiative. But I heard that the Magic Potion Association found 5 people to refine the potion together. They are very confident. They have already successfully refined new potions many times. It's just that the process is very secretive, so no one knows what they are refining. When Song Xiangru heard Chen Lian-er's tone, she knew that Chen Lian-er was already hostile towards her. She felt uneasy. If it was just you useless people, the Combat Association would have collapsed long ago. Fortunately, I have already made preparations. Chen Lian-er finished speaking and clapped her hands. An intermediate student wearing a Magic Potion Association robe walked in. It's her? After seeing the person, Song Xiangru couldn't help but be stunned. She didn't think that Chen Lianair would have a backup plan. The person who came seemed to be hesitant. Don't worry. If you succeed today, I will definitely ask my grandfather to recommend you to the royal hospital. This way, your family won't have to stay in the mountain village and starve and suffer anymore. Chen Lianair finished speaking and smiled. Chapter 131. It could be said that the Magic Potion Association had mobilized all of its members for this potion refinement. In addition, the newly joined Yun Shang was making the final preparations for the refinement of the tribute of the moon god. His Highness the Crown Prince and the people from Wushuan Everlasting House are all here. This time, the Magic Potion Association will definitely be able to hold their heads high. And Jia was making the final mobilization. He felt that even the heavens were helping them this time. The Combat Association's joint attack had failed. Their Holy Spirit water would definitely be able to win the glory that the Magic Potion Association deserved. On the Magic Potion Association's side, other than the mage who had been injured and could not participate earlier, Yun Shang had seen the remaining people a few times during her previous refinements. Although she could not say that she was familiar with them, she could recognize their faces. The other two people from the Magic Potion Association were the 11-year-old junior student Wang Hua, and the other was an intermediate student like Jia Hua Kiki. The division of labor between the five of them had also been determined during the previous refinements. Potioneers were different from healers because refining potions required a large amount of magical elements. The reason why the tribute of the moon god was difficult to refine was that it required a lot of magical elements. Under normal circumstances, it required a mage at the level of a master mage to successfully refine it. However, after years of research and guidance from his mentor, President Jia had successfully divided the refinement of the tribute of the moon god into several steps. I believe that everyone is already very familiar with the refinement of the tribute of the moon god. Later, Wang Hua will do the preliminary processing of the materials. I will do the purification of the magical materials. Gufeng's light magical elements will act as the potion additive. Cuckoo will mix the potion, and Yun Shang will do the final step of stabilizing the potion. After Jia finished his instructions, he checked the magical materials again. After making sure that everything was ready, he urged the few of them to go to the square. Senior Cuckoo, I'll help you carry the materials. Gufeng saw that Hua Kiki was holding several magical materials in her hands, which looked very cumbersome. He took the initiative to help her carry them. Hua Kiki and Gufeng had a good relationship. Both of them were public students and children from a mountain village. When Gufeng had first entered the potions department, Hua Kiki had always taken care of Gufeng. No need, I'll do it myself. Hua Kiki refused Gufeng, holding the magic materials in her hands tightly. She looked very nervous. Everyone didn't care. Among the five people, except for Yun Shang, who looked calm, the rest of them felt as if their hearts were beating like drums. They were extremely nervous. Although everyone had already refined a few potions before this, the refinement of potions was much more unpredictable than the combination of magic spells. The slightest mistake could lead to unforeseen events. Moreover, everyone usually stayed in the laboratory to refine magic potions. Later, they would have to refine magic potions in front of all the teachers and students of the academy. For everyone in the Magic Potion Association, this was the first time in history. This time failure was not an option. In the square, the instructors and students had been waiting anxiously for a long time. In order to make it easier to refine magic potions, the instructors of the potions department had brought over magic potion utensils and long tables. Yun Shang and the others stood in a position, and more than 20 types of magic materials were placed one by one on the long table. I am Jia, the president of the Magic Potion Association. Today we will be refining Holy Spirit water. There will be a total of 5 participants in the refinement, involving 23 types of magic materials. They are respectively. Jia explained to everyone. After the explanation, Wang Hua immediately started the first step of processing the magic materials. All kinds of animal skins, herbs, fruits, and magic crystals were cut up using magic and arranged in order. Jia then started the most preliminary purification of the materials. He used the most common fire refining method. The fire element removed the excess impurities inside the materials, and the quality of the magic materials was further improved. After Anjia was done, Gufeng saw that Hua Qiki was motionless and reminded her softly. Yun Shang couldn't help but glance at Hua Qiki, and found that the moment Gufeng called her, her breathing suddenly quickened. Hua Qiki doesn't look right. Yun Shang frowned. She's probably nervous. Yun Shang, I'm nervous too. Gufeng didn't mind. He just hoped that he wouldn't make a mistake when he added the light element later. It wasn't as simple as being nervous. Gufeng, did something happen to Hua Qiki's family recently? With the intuition of a doctor, Yun Shang felt that Hua Qiki was more guilty than nervous. Just now, when Anjia was refining the magic materials, Hua Qiki seemed to have exchanged glances with Chan Liener, who was sitting in the guest seats. Yes, Sister Qiki's family isn't very well off. Her father is a stonemason. I heard that 3 months ago, he accidentally broke his leg while quarrying stones. Because he didn't have the money to treat it, he became paralyzed. Sister Qiki said that after participating in the refining of the moon goddess's tribute, she will quit school and go out to earn money to support her family. Gufeng sighed. After becoming an intermediate student, the academy would no longer provide financial aid. Learning to be a magic apothecary required a lot of magic materials. He also felt that it was a pity that Sister Qiki couldn't continue her studies for the sake of her family. Yunsheng nodded and suddenly said, Gufeng, here's a bottle of meditation water. Drink it first. If there's an accident later, immediately use the light of tomorrow. Ah, why? Haven't we practiced it many times already? There haven't been any accidents. Gufeng became even more nervous after hearing this. It's just to be prepared. Yun Shang threw a bottle of meditation water to Gufeng, and drank one herself at the same time. She also hoped that she was just being paranoid. In any case, drinking the meditation water would only be beneficial to her later refining, and there would be no harm. It's the 18th. And Jia and Wang Hua didn't pay attention to Yun Shang and Gufeng's little movements. The two of them stared intently at Nkiki fusing the magic materials one by one. With 5 more materials, the magic fusion would be completed. At that time, Gufeng would just have to add in the light magic elements and change the attributes of the potion. Finally, Yun Shang would stabilize the potion. It's the 23rd. Hua Qiki nodded at Gufeng after he finished drinking the meditation water. Gufeng raised his magic scepter and added a few strands of light magic elements into the fused potion. Beside him, Hua Qiki looked at Gufeng with some guilt, but in the end she retreated to the side. After the milky white magic elements were added, the color of the fused potion gradually turned white. Just as Gufeng heaved a sigh of relief and was about to let Yun Shang do the final stabilization of the potion, in the potion bottle, the dozens of fused magic materials suddenly changed. Gufeng's face was filled with horror. Beside him, Jia and Wang Hua also turned pale with fright. The magic materials of various attributes were like a raging tide, one after another making popping sounds. It looked like a violent and restless lightning. The potions were conflicting. Chapter 132. Potion conflicts were the last thing any potion master on the continent wanted to see. The most difficult step in the refinement of magic potions was to fuse magic materials of different attributes together. But if the potion fusion failed, or if the potion master did not do any of the steps correctly, it would lead to the failure of the potion refinement. But if a normal potion refinement failed, it would at most be a waste of magic materials. But if someone mixed magic materials of different attributes together, such as water, fire, wind, earth, light and dark magic materials, or elements that violated the laws of nature, it would lead to a potion conflict. When magic materials of different attributes were forcefully fused together, the effect would be no less than the explosion of a small nuclear bomb in the modern sense. In front of them, the potion bottle that was a few steps away from Gufeng was brewing a terrible potion conflict. Several magic elements of different colors were repelling each other. The potion bottle seemed to have grown wings as it kept scurrying around the square. Gufeng was pulled aside by Yun Shang, and the rest of the people from the Magic Potion Association were scared out of their wits. Evacuate the crowd immediately. The dean of the Magic Academy felt a headache coming on. What was going on today? Not only did the Combat Association fail, the Magic Potion Association was even more ridiculous. They actually refined a magic bomb that could be detonated at any time. Hua Kiki, how much did the Combat Association give you? Yunshang's gaze suddenly turned cold as she questioned Hua Kiki. Hua Kiki was also panicking. She stammered, I don't know what you're talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then what's that in your sleeve? Yunshang grabbed Hua Kiki's sleeve and tore it forcefully. A jade pendant fell to the ground. That jade pendant looked ordinary, but upon closer inspection, one would discover that it was a magic tool that contained some turbid magic elements. Yunshang could even feel the slight presence of dark magic elements in it. Even if there was only a tiny bit of darkness element, it would be enough to cause an earth-shattering change in a purified potion. Needless to say, Goofing still needed to add light element into the potion. Once she wore this jade pendant, Hua Kiki would be contaminated with turbid air when she used magic. When the turbid air entered the magic potions and met with the light element, it would inevitably cause a conflict between the magic potions. It was no wonder that the Holy Spirit water would clash at the last moment. I didn't know it would be like this. I thought that this magic item would only cause the magic medicine to fail. Hua Kiki was also anxious. Chun Lianer didn't tell her that it would cause the magic medicine to clash. What are you all still standing there for? Leave the square immediately. The various teachers of the Royal Magic Academy immediately regained their composure after their initial panic and instructed the students to leave the square. Taking advantage of the fact that the potions had yet to explode, they had to set up a barrier beside the square. It's over, it's all over this time, President Njie said with a long face. Hua Kiki lowered her head in shame under everyone's stares. No matter the outcome of the tribute of the moon god this time, the Magic Medicine Association was completely finished this time. As Chun Lianer retreated, she gloated at the members of the Magic Medicine Association, who were at a loss for what to do. She never left any leeway when she did things. The Magic Medicine Association had to be eliminated. She used Hua Kiki's father's illness and her own personal wealth to threaten Nkiki. Nkiki would definitely not admit that there was someone behind her. The Magic Medicine Association was in big trouble. They would definitely face the fate of disbanding the association. Don't worry, we haven't failed in the refinement. As long as we can disperse the turbid magic elements in the magic potions, it will be fine. The surroundings were in a mess, but Yunshang calmed down. She ran towards the magic potion that was like a ticking time bomb. Come back. That student, I'm talking about you. It's very dangerous, come back quickly. The teachers who were retreating didn't expect that there would be a student who would recklessly run over at this time. Yunshang, I'll go with you. Goofing thought for a moment and also rushed over. Not far away, Abandon cursed, idiots. Those two damned fellows only knew how to cause trouble for him. However, after cursing out loud, Abandoned gritted his teeth and followed after them. In the blink of an eye, the three of them rushed in front of the magic potion that was scurrying around like a headless fly. Yunshang flew into the air, and a ball of bright flame appeared in her hand. She grabbed a magic potion bottle that looked like a ball of lightning. The magic potion bottle cracked. The broken glass shards were extremely sharp and pierced Yunshang's delicate palm, instantly causing fresh blood to flow. Yunshang! Goofing was shocked. He didn't expect Yunshang to dare to use her hand to grab the restless magic elements. Hiss hiss hiss. The magic potion that was constantly scurrying around couldn't struggle in Yunshang's hand. Yunshang, Goofing, Abandon, are you trying to anger me to death? Yunshang, withdraw immediately, it's too dangerous. After Teacher Mary evacuated most of the students, she found that her three troublemakers had disappeared again. She turned back to look and was almost scared to death by the scene in front of her. As an experienced potion apothecary, no one knew better than Teacher Mary the consequences of a magic potion conflict. She had once witnessed a potion apothecary's entire magic potion laboratory being razed to the ground in a magic potion storm. That potion apothecary himself was directly blown into powder, and even his bones couldn't be seen. The scale of that magic potion storm was not small compared to that magic potion storm. Teacher Mary didn't know that among all magic potion storms, the magic potion storm formed by the conflict between the two magic elements of light and darkness was the most powerful. This time, Yunshang was facing a magic potion storm formed by the fusion of these two elements. Goofing, retreat to the side. If the magic potion in my hand explodes, you will immediately activate the ball of light. When Yunshang saw Goofing and Abandon running over, she was moved, but she didn't want to implicate the two of them. The magic potion conflict in her hand became more and more intense. The constantly jumping lightning was like a drill, and Yunshang felt that her hand was about to be pierced. The lightning formed by the magic potion conflict formed a small lightning vortex, constantly jumping in Yunshang's hand, and waves of pain assaulted her. If this continued, her hand would be crippled. Yunshang's small face was drenched in sweat. She was already riding a tiger and couldn't get off. It was as if she had tied a time bomb. If the magic potion lightning vortex in her hand was thrown away, it would definitely explode immediately. Deputy Director, why aren't we leaving? Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai had already evacuated most of the accompanying disciples of Wuxia Limitless School. But at this time the Deputy Director's fighting strength didn't move. Even with the martial artist's tyrannical physique, it was enough to endure a magic potion lightning vortex. Interesting. Look at that girl's movements. I've seen people who don't care about their lives, but I've never seen someone who doesn't care about their lives. It seems that the person we're looking for has been found. Zhonli stroked his stubbled chin. Not only did he not leave, he even stopped to pay attention to Yunshang's every move. Chapter 133. Within the Royal Academy, most of the crowd had already been evacuated. Those who remained were only a few teachers, 3 people from the 13 Magical Potions group, and 3 people from the Wuxia Limitless Library. Those who did not have absolute strength did not have the guts to stay. When everyone's gaze was focused on the magic lightning vortex in Yunshang's hand did something that made everyone cry out in surprise. Her hand, a hand that was badly mutilated and bones could be seen, suddenly moved. Yunshang clenched her teeth and persevered. The intense pain had already numbed her body, but her mind was still clear. The magical elemental fluctuations caused by the conflict between the magic potions kept moving in Yunshang's hand, like an electric drill, as if it was going to cut off Yunshang's hand at any time. But at this time Yunshang's fingers moved with difficulty. Her 5 fingers were as soft as 5 boneless snakes, moving up and down, left and right, looking as if she was playing an invisible instrument. Her fingers moved faster and faster. Trillium hand, double the speed. Double the speed, double the speed, triple the speed. Like a sports car that had stepped on the accelerator in an instant, Yunshang's fingers moved quickly. As her fingers moved faster, in the end, in everyone's eyes, Yunshang's hand disappeared and turned into countless finger shadows. It looked as if Yunshang had grown countless fingers. The restless magic lightning vortex was like an autumn flower that was being played with by Yunshang in the palm of her hand, no longer able to move around. Oh my god, she's purifying the magic potion again. Someone suddenly exclaimed, realizing the real effect of Yunshang's unknown action. The sky gradually darkened, and in the square, the remaining few people had all forgotten the passage of time. Their eyes were wide open, and they all stared at Yunshang's hand without blinking. As Yunshang's fingers moved faster and faster, blood splashed between her fingers, and strands of turbid magical impurities flowed out like strands of hair from the magic potion liquid. Yunshang could feel that the magic lightning vortex in her palm had gradually calmed down from its initial irritation, like a ship that had fallen after a storm and was docked at the harbor. Goofing and Abandon at the side had already forgotten themselves. The magic lightning vortex gradually disappeared, and a thick and pure magic potion liquid reappeared in Yunshang's hand. Goofeng, moonlight grass, jade powder. Yunshang called out the names of the magic ingredients one by one. Abandon. Prepare a brand new magic potion crystal bottle. Her expression was very solemn, very much like a female general who was strategizing. Her 2 soldiers came back to their senses and quickly prepared new materials. Yunshang then used her uninjured left hand to accurately add new magic ingredients into the purified magic potion liquid. After the purification, the last step, which was also the most important step, was to stabilize the magic potion. After all the ingredients were added, Yunshang took a deep breath, and her pupils and hands contracted at the same time. She waved her 5 fingers, and a few invisible magic elements mixed into the magic potion liquid. A stream of golden magic potion liquid streaked across everyone's vision like a fountain, and fell into the magic potion crystal bottle that Abandon had prepared. There was a wonderful fragrance in the air that was like the fragrance of flowers in spring water. When the magic potion liquid fell into the crystal bottle, a crystal light shone brightly. Look, what is that? Above the crystal bottle, there was an additional luster that was gentle like moonlight. Tonight was the first of the month, and it was supposed to be a moonless night. But in everyone's eyes they clearly saw a slowly rising moon. It was a full moon emitting a bright light. The transparent magic potion crystal bottle with a long neck was emitting an indescribably beautiful and moving light. Red, without a trace of impurities, the magic potion that was more dazzling than the rising sun in the east, emitted a tempting light. High-grade magic potion, moon god's praise done? Yunshang's voice fell, and a satisfied smile appeared on her face. At that moment her whole person was like the moon god descending to earth, emitting a mysterious and gentle light all over. While Yunshang was still immersed in the joy of refining the magic potion, a head-on knock landed on her head. Mentor Mary's tiger-like face was infinitely enlarged in front of her eyes. Yunshang! Goofing, Abandon, the three of you, all three members of Magic Potion Team 13, all of you are grounded. You are not allowed to leave the public student dormitory for a week. She was furious and like a whirlwind, she pulled the three troublemakers and left with a bottle of newly refined magic potion, leaving everyone who was still immersed in the beauty of the moon god's praise. Deputy Curator? That bottle of potion? Bu Jiuxiao and Changbai's faces were filled with surprise and joy. There's no need to guess. That kind of aura, ordinary people who smell it once will never forget it for the rest of their lives. When I was in the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, I once saw a potion of the same grade refined by the great national hand. On the face of the deputy curator, there was an unfathomable smile. High-grade magic potion. This time, the Royal Magic Academy had made a huge profit. A young mage who could refine a high-grade magic potion TSK. This was definitely a heaven-defying rhythm. Mentor Mary's performance just now seemed to be angry that a few students didn't listen to her. But in fact, she was protecting them, especially the female student who was refining medicine. Today's matter would definitely be covered up by the Magic Academy in various ways. However, this was also good. The real purpose of their visit today had been achieved, and they didn't have to worry about the Magic Academy not agreeing to the request of the martial arts school. Unexpectedly, the suitable candidate was not from the fighting department, but from the magic potion department, which had always been at a disadvantage. Only then did the few people from Wuxia Limitless School leave. The plaza was in a mess. After Mentor Mary sent Yunshang and the other two back to their dormitory, she immediately brought the bottle of praise of the moon god to the academy. Several of the academy's higher-ups, including the principal, were waiting for Mentor Mary. It really is a high-grade potion. I dare to bet with my 43 years of experience as a potion instructor that this bottle is a rare potion on the continent. Not only is it useful for the baptism of a mage's soul, it is also useful for the cleansing of a warrior's marrow and bones. Do you want to publicly display this high-grade potion? This can greatly increase the reputation of our Magic Academy, and it can also dampen the spirit of Wuxia Limitless School. Isn't that so? There's also the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. Let them see how powerful the Magic Academy is. All the teachers present had their own thoughts. I don't agree. Mentor Mary and Fengque spoke at almost the same time. The two of them looked at each other. The principal of the Royal Magic Academy also waved his hand, indicating for everyone to quiet down. He understood what the two of them were thinking. I have already decided. Regarding this bottle of high-grade potion, the Academy has already considered it clearly. To the outside world, you must announce that this bottle of moon god water was jointly refined by a potion team. Most of the people in the plaza have already been evacuated. Only a few people knew that this bottle of high-grade potion came from one person. Students are the most precious wealth of our Magic Academy. As long as she is still in the Royal Magic Academy, we must ensure her safety. From next week onwards, Yunshang, Abandon, and Goofing will officially switch to the Magic Potion Department and the Fighting Department. Chapter 134. When the news of the 3 members of the 13 Magical Potions team turning into a dual cultivation of fighting and potions and directly transferring to classes with the intermediate magic students spread out, it was like a drop of water falling into a pot of boiling oil. The Royal Magic Academy immediately exploded. The ones who had the biggest reaction were the intermediate students of the fighting department led by Chan Liener. As for the specific reason for the academy's arrangement, the teachers were all silenced, and no one was willing to reveal it. The Fighting Association treated this matter as a great humiliation. I feel that the academy's arrangement is more beneficial to us. So what if they know light magic or alchemy? They are just mages after all. In our hands they are still at our mercy. After Chan Liener received the news, she laughed it off. Although the teachers were unwilling to reveal it, she had already vaguely gotten the news from the Crown Prince. Something must have happened during the last refinement. Even the Crown Prince of the Magic Medicine Association, Yi Balian, who had allowed her to teach the Magic Medicine Association a lesson, changed his tune this time and reminded Chan Liener to stop, especially that person called Yun Shang. That little girl, who was only 7 years old, actually made the Crown Prince see her in a different light. Chan Liener couldn't help but feel sour in her heart. She was even more determined to deal with Yun Shang. As long as they were still in the Royal Magic Academy, they wouldn't have to worry about not being able to deal with those three. But this time Chan Liener's wishful thinking failed. Because someone had taken the lead and had set their sights on the 3 people of the 13 Magical Potions team. And this time, even the principal of the Royal Magic Academy couldn't stop them. You want us to represent the academy and go to Wuxia Limitless School as exchange students? Teacher Meili seemed to be really angry this time. She locked up Yun Shang and the others for 7 days before letting the 3 of them out. The first thing Yun Shang and the other 2 did when they came out was to be called over by the Academic Affairs Office. They were told that the 3 of them would be transferred to Wuxia Limitless School in the coming year. It turned out that 5 days ago, not long after the Moon God's praise was refined, the vice-curator of Wuxia Limitless School's combat strength came personally. He talked to the principal for 3 hours. The 2 of them talked about something, but after the vice-curator left, the principal called teacher Meili over. The exchange period is 5 years, which is equivalent to the entire course of an intermediate mage student. During the entire exchange process, you will enjoy all the treatment of the martial arts students of the Wuxia Limitless School. All your accommodation and life will be taken care of by the martial arts school. The instructor from the Academic Affairs Office explained the general situation of the Wuxia Limitless School. But Minter, we are magi. If we were capable of training martial students, we wouldn't have come to the Academy of Magic. Gufing was disoriented by this sudden news. It was not easy for him to fuse with a soul stone and become a mage. He also had a friend that he could confide in, but who knew that he would suddenly have to transfer to Wu Profound Limitless School. Little student, why are there so many buts? Don't be so ungrateful. This is the first time since the establishment of our school that we've had an student exchange program. It would help the mages and warriors of Zhou State to get along harmoniously. You guys are going to Wuxia Limitless Dojo, the best dojo in Zhou State, one of the top 5 first-rate dojos in the Limitless continent. The instructor from the Academic Affairs Office consoled her earnestly. In her opinion, this was definitely a pie falling from the sky. Mentor, since we are learning and training together with the Academy of the Martial Arts School, we must also take the examination together. If we don't pass the examination of the Martial Arts School, what will the consequences be? Yun Shang understood what Gufing was worried about. Naturally, we have to expel them from the martial arts school. The Wuxia Limitless School is a martial arts student of the Emperor, and enjoys the subsidies of the country. The country does not support useless people. The instructor from the Academic Affairs Office blurted out. Then if we are expelled from the martial arts school, will the Academy of Magic still accept us? Yun Shang was someone who had lived for 2 lifetimes, so she was more considerate than anyone else. If the Wuxia Limitless School doesn't want people, the Academy of Magic naturally won't accept them. The instructor from the Academic Affairs Office once again showed the arrogant temper of a mage. In the eyes of most mages, warriors were just a bunch of boorish people who didn't know how to use their brains. Since that's the case, we won't go to the Wuxia Limitless School. This precious exchange student qualification, we will give it to someone else. Gufing abandoned, what do you think? After Yun Shang finished speaking, the other 2 also followed suit. Sigh, little girl, You are really a shrewd person. How can you be so calculative at such a young age? The exchange student quota can't be casually changed. The instructor from the Academic Affairs Office was anxious. She couldn't say that the exchange student quota was designated by the Wuxia Limitless School, so it had to be these 3 people from the 13 Magical Potions group. Mentor, that's a matter of the Academy. The 3 of us came to the Royal Magic Academy with the intention of becoming outstanding mages. Although we are public students, we have to pay the corresponding price to continue learning. The Academy can't drive us away for no reason, and can't force us to be exchange students. Yunsheng also didn't budge an inch. Of course, she could also see that the purpose of this exchange student was definitely not as simple as the Academic Affairs Office said. Gufeng was worried that he would offend the Academy, so he gave Yunsheng a look from the side. Yunsheng gave him a watch me look. What you said is not completely unreasonable, but the Academy has already agreed to the dojo's invitation. You have to consider the big picture. The instructor from the Academic Affairs Office had never met such a troublesome student. We can consider the big picture, but the Academy must agree to a few of our requests. Yunsheng knew that this exchange student was inevitable. Moreover, she had offended Chan Lian and the Crown Prince's faction. If she really went to class with the intermediate students, she would definitely not have a good life. She might as well go to Zhou State's #1 dojo to broaden her horizons. That day, the strength that the young warriors from Wuxia Wuji Dojo had displayed left a deep impression on her. More importantly, Yunsheng had heard her father, Yun Songhai, mention that her grandfather, Yun Ba, and her second uncle, Yun Songlong, had both learned martial arts from Wuxia Wuji Dojo. After some hesitation, the instructor from the Academic Affairs Office discussed with the Academy, and finally agreed to Yunsheng and the other 2's requests. To the Royal Magic Academy, this was an unprecedented experience. It was the first time that a student dared to directly challenge the Academy and negotiate with the Academy. Yunsheng had a total of 3 requests. First, from today onwards, the Magic Potion Association and the Combat Association would be listed as the 2 major associations of the Royal Magic Academy. The 2 associations would have the same status and treatment. Second, thoroughly investigate the matter of the previous magic potion conflict, and severely punish Hua Kiki and the mastermind behind it. Third, although they had temporarily left the Royal Magic Academy, they still had the right to return to the Academy from time to time, and use the Academy's central magic tower to cultivate magic. Chapter 135. Qi did not object to Yunsheng's 3 conditions, but Gufeng had some objections, especially to Yunsheng's second condition. He felt that Yunsheng was petty. Although Hua Kiki had betrayed the Magic Potion Association and everyone else, she had to go against her conscience for the sake of her family. Yunsheng's request for the Academy to punish Hua Kiki was equivalent to cutting off her path to survival. A tainted potion apothecary would not be able to survive in the world of magicians. Before Yunsheng could explain, Qi, who had always been a man of few words, spoke up. Gufeng, Yunsheng did not do anything wrong. That day, her hand was almost crippled. When you were soft-hearted towards Hua Kiki, did she ever think of being kind to us? Qi Bing's cold voice was like a bucket of cold water, drenching Gufeng in a daze. Gufeng looked at Yunsheng's hand in shame. He would never forget that during the few days of confinement, Yunsheng's right hand was wrapped up like a steamed bun. The lethality of the magic lightning vortex was terrifying. Yunsheng said that she had learned a unique family technique, and that was how she managed to neutralize most of the magic power. If it had been anyone else, their hand would have been crippled long ago. For a magician, the right hand was as important as the heart. Yunsheng could not help but look at Qi gratefully. This kid, at least he still had some conscience. That day, almost everyone's attention was attracted by the high-ranking moon god's praise. Only Qi, who had quietly handed over a bottle of hemostatic potion on the way. Yunsheng's hand was indeed severely injured, but she relied on the Shenong medical bangle to combine it with the special technique of Trillium's hand to forcefully refine the potion. However, the destructive power of the magic potion lightning vortex formed from the clash of magic potions was indeed astonishing. Even with the heaven-defying Shenong medical bangle combined with Minter Mary's healing technique, Yunsheng's hand was wrapped in bandages for a full 3 days and 3 nights before it healed. Gufeng was still young, so it was understandable that he couldn't understand Yun Shang's way of doing things. However, Qi was at most 1 or 2 years older than them. He agreed with Yun Shang's way of doing things, which surprised Yun Shang. Yun Shang thought to herself that Abandon must have gone through some kind of painful experience, which was why he was so wary of others. Gufeng, I admit that my method is a bit extreme, but if there is one Hua Kiki, there will be another Hua Kiki. A potioneer with evil intentions may harm many innocent people. I'm doing this to let others know the consequences of associating with the combat association. Yun Shang warned Gufeng earnestly. When the 3 of them returned to the public student dormitory, they happened to meet Mentor Mary. Looking at her appearance, she seemed to have been waiting for the 3 of them for a long time. The 3 of you, come with me. Mentor Mary brought the 3 of them to her residence. The 3 of you should already know about the exchange student matter. This matter was personally ordered by the dean, and there's no way to change it anymore. I also just received the news that there are a few magic tools here. Keep them by your side and bring them to Wuxia Everlasting School for self-defense. Mentor Mary sighed as she looked at the 3 students in front of her. After getting along with them for a while, she really liked the children in front of her from the bottom of her heart. It was a pity that the current situation did not allow her to be the mentor of the 3 of them. However, after experiencing the moon god water, Mentor Mary also knew that she didn't have much to teach the 3 of them in terms of magic potions. Fortunately, after a period of run-in, the 3 of them had also accepted each other. This would be very beneficial for the 3 of them during their exchange trip. Yun Shang and the other 2 received the magic tools and discovered that these magic tools were all intermediate-grade magic tools. On the market, they were all valuable items that were worth at least a few hundred gold coins. Gufeng and Qi had never received such a valuable gift in their entire lives. The 2 of them couldn't help but jump for joy as they flipped the magic tools over and over again to check them out. Mentor Mary reminded them a few more times before letting the 3 of them go back. Not long after the 3 of them left, Yun Shang returned. Mentor Mary, what is the real reason why we joined the Wuxia Limitless School? Yun Shang had long felt that something was wrong. Just now, Mentor Mary had a conflicted expression on her face as if she wanted to say something, so she carefully probed. As expected, I can't hide it from you, little girl. Mentor Mary was both angry and amused. She set up a barrier around the room to prevent anyone from eavesdropping. In her opinion, Yun Shang's intelligence was enough to digest what she was about to tell her. There was nothing special about the matter of sending exchange students between the Magic Academy and the dojo. After all, outside of Zhou State, including later Qin, Penglai, Immortal Residence, and Tangyuan, there had always been mutual exchanges between the dojo and the Magic Academy. Especially the summoners of Penglai, as a special group of mages, they even directly formed a master-servant relationship with the warriors and relied on each other. However, Zhou State had only developed magic for a short period of time. The relationship between the Yujing Imperial Magic Academy and the Wuxia Limitless School had been going on for so many years. To put it nicely, it was called being respectful to each other. To put it bluntly, it was that they didn't like each other. The 2 sides fought for resources, fought for fame, and used all kinds of methods. This time, Wuxia Limitless School suddenly proposed an exchange student, especially Yun Shang and the others. The dean of the Imperial Academy originally didn't agree. One was a student who could refine high-grade magic potions, Yun Shang. Although everyone agreed that Yun Shang could only refine the praise of the moon god by chance, it was undeniable that her potential was definitely top-notch. One was a student who could use light magic, Gufeng. There was also a student with a mysterious poison magic. Any one of them was a precious treasure for the current Imperial Magic Academy. What made the dean relent in the end wasn't just the high pressure from Wuxia Limitless School. There was another reason, and it was because of the 8 Baron Divine Artifact. When that name was mentioned, Teacher Mei Li's expression suddenly became serious. Yun Shang even felt that there was an invisible pressure in the room, and that pressure was brought by the 8 Baron Divine Artifact that Teacher Mei Li mentioned. Divine Artifact, just this name alone was enough to give one some clues. The magic artifacts refined by mages were used to store magic or magic power. According to the strength of the magic, they were divided into 3 types: elementary, intermediate, and high. Above the magic artifacts were the holy artifacts, and above the holy artifacts were the divine artifacts. A divine artifact referred to an artifact that stored divine power. It could be a weapon or a treasure, and no matter which one it was not easy for the world to see it. Once a divine artifact appeared, it would at least cause a phenomenon in the heavens and earth, and at worst it would cause a natural disaster. No matter which one it would definitely cause chaos in the world, and the heroes would chase after it. Unlike magic artifacts and holy artifacts, which were divided according to their levels, divine artifacts were divided according to different periods of history. Yun Sheng had once heard his teacher mention the 8 Baron Divine Artifact in the Magic Academy's elementary magic course. This was a special period, but his teacher did not mention the 8 Baron Divine Artifact at that time. The so-called 8 Baron Divine Artifact referred to the divine artifacts left behind from the ancient 8 Desolate era. Chapter 136. The memories of the 8 Desolation period from magic classes were still very clear. The so-called 8 Desolation period was a special period that happened on the Boundless Continent. At that time, humans and demonic beasts lived side by side and ruled separately. There were no vassal states on the continent, so humans were very weak. The demonic beasts were ruled by the 8 strongest dire beast tribes. For a long time, the demonic beasts treated humans as food and forced humans to the point where they could not survive. Then, 8 powerful humans appeared. They used 8 divine artifacts to kill the leaders of the 8 dire beast tribes and drove the demonic beasts away. They also sealed all the demonic beasts that were above the Lord level in the Dutian blood beast world. Since then, humans were the true rulers of the Boundless Continent. The demonic beasts were also reduced to tools for human magicians, warriors, and summoners. In order to commemorate the 8 mighty figures of the human race and the bloody period of the wild beasts, the later generations recorded the ancient 8 Desolates into history. After the 8 mighty figures of the human race died, the 8 divine artifacts left behind were also respectfully called the 8 Desolates Divine Artifacts. Teacher Mei Li told Yun Sheng about the 8 divine artifacts. Immortal Holy Grail. A medicinal cup with incredible power. It has 2 sides, yin and yang. The yin side can be used to refine deadly poisons, while the yang side can be used to refine elixirs that can neutralize hundreds of poisons. Netherworld Ghost Key. Has magical power. Legend has it that it can open the secret key to the Netherworld Ghost World. Halberd of the Divine War. The weapon of the first martial god. Kill a human and a beast and add their soul energy to the Halberd of the Divine War, doubling its power. Summoning Demon Hand. The right hand of the first Zhao state Emperor Zhao. Possessing it is equivalent to possessing the power of a legendary summoner. Heavenly Fate Mirror. Inject your spiritual energy into the mirror to see a person's past, present, and future. It can also reflect all magic attacks. Magic Bracelet. A bracelet that can raise all magic attributes by 1 grade. It belonged to the first Divine Lord. Heart Lamp. The light of the heart lamp can cause humans and beasts to hallucinate and use it to control their souls. Donghuang Qing. An ancient qing, left behind by the first emperor of the Donghuang dynasty. It can calm one's heart and eliminate the demons in one's heart. This was the first time Yun Sheng had heard of the Octotera divine artifacts. Her mind was shaken, especially when she heard about the immortal Holy Grail. In her heart, she thought that if she had the Holy Grail, she would definitely be able to cure the poison in her father's body. However, the Octotera divine artifacts were divine artifacts after all. Presumably, not just anyone could obtain them. Where are the 8 divine artifacts now? The Shen Nong medical bracelet on her hand was also considered a divine tool, but compared to this so-called Ba Huang divine tool, it paled in comparison. Yun Sheng naturally did not know that she had only unearthed 1/10 of the true use of the Shen Nong medical bracelet on her hand. His whereabouts are unknown. Teacher Mei Li could not help but sigh. Yun Sheng's question was also the question of countless people. After successfully killing the chief of the Bakra orcs, the 8 almighty beings who had saved the human race had also exhausted their divine energy. The 8 of them took their respective divine artifacts and went into seclusion to cultivate. Among them, 4 of them benefited from the disaster and successfully broke through after their seclusion. They respectively established the Donghuang dynasty, the Zhao state, the Dharma temple, and the Longqian martial dojo. The remaining 4 were not so lucky. One of them failed in his seclusion and lost all his cultivation. One of them went berserk during his seclusion and was killed by his enemy. The other two were a couple. After their seclusion, the two of them comprehended the heavenly Tao and finally left the boundless land hand in hand. As for the four people who were either dead, crippled, or left, their divine artifacts also became ownerless and no one knew where they were. As for the couple, it was said that they hid their divine artifacts in two places on the mainland, waiting for the fated person to find them. As for the four divine artifacts that had owners, their owners passed away one after another about 100 years later. The descendants of the owners of the divine artifacts fought over them crazily. After many killings, after changing owners, after experiencing all sorts of changes, no one knew where they ended up. Teacher Meili, since everything is gone, then why did you say that the reason we are heading to Wu Profound Limitless School this time is because of the 8 Wastelands divine artifact? Yun Sheng was naturally very envious of the divine artifacts. However, she also understood very well that divine artifacts and the like were all spiritual objects. Only those who were truly comparable to the 8 supreme experts of the human clan in the past could truly obtain the approval of the 8 Wastelands divine artifact and display the effects of the 8 Wastelands divine artifact. In the hands of an able person, a divine artifact would only be a divine artifact. In the hands of an ordinary person, not only would it be useless, it would even bring about a fatal disaster. The battle strength of the Wu Profound Limitless School's vice head has received news that within 5 years, a divine artifact will be unearthed on the continent. Teacher Meili's eyes were filled with surprise. The power of a divine artifact was enough to make the world go crazy, and Teacher Meili was no exception. Then why was he so kind as to tell us the news? The people of the Wu Profound Limitless School can send their own people to snatch it. Yun Sheng did not think that the fighting strength was such a kind person. That uncle was obviously a shrewd person, because he can't be sure which divine artifact it is that was unearthed. The 8 Wastelands divine artifact had a special characteristic. Other than the 4 divine artifacts that had been missing for a long time, the other 4 divine artifacts would only recognize people of the same profession as their first master. Only when the corresponding person appeared would they appear. In other words, 4 of the divine artifacts would only appear in the world when the summoner, mage, warrior, and the descendants of the Eastern Imperial Dynasty were present. What the Wu Profound Limitless School wanted the most was the war god Halberd. But they were not sure if the divine artifact that was unearthed was the war god Halberd. But if it's a divine artifact that they can't control, it's useless even if they snatch it away. Why bother to mobilize so many people? Yun Sheng asked in confusion. You don't know about this. Even if you can't use it yourself, you can't let the divine artifact fall into the hands of others or countries. Not to mention, there's another saying about the 8 Wastelands divine artifact. Back then, the 8 supreme beings of the human clan were all life and death friends. When a divine artifact was unearthed, it would trigger the other 7 divine artifacts to be unearthed one after another. Furthermore, as long as one has a divine artifact in hand, when they encounter other divine artifacts, the divine artifact will automatically warn them. Teacher Meili did not tell Goofing and Abandon because she was worried that the two of them were still young and would not be able to control themselves. However, Yun Sheng was different. She had a calm personality and was good at thinking. She could take on the role of the leader of the 13 Magic Potions group. When the battle strength received the news that the divine artifact had been unearthed, they had to find a suitable mage and summoner. He was a citizen of the Zhou state, so he naturally had to search within the Zhou state. Furthermore, the mage and summoner that he found had to ensure that they would completely obey the orders of the Wu Profound Limitless School. Therefore, after he chose Yun Sheng and the others, he proposed the exchange student request. The vice-curator of the battle strength agreed that if the 8 Wastelands divine artifact that was about to be unearthed was a divine bracelet that was suitable for mages, he would give it to the Royal Magic Academy. This was the reason why the Magic Academy agreed to the dojo in the end. I believe that no rational mage would be able to refuse this condition. Chapter 137. The temptation of the 8 Wastelands artifact was too great. There were not many people in the entire continent who could resist the temptation of the artifact. After Teacher Meili told Yun Sheng the real reason for the exchange, she repeatedly warned Yun Sheng not to tell Goofing and Abandon the truth of the matter, lest the two of them could not resist the temptation and make a mistake in the future. Not to mention Goofing and Abandon, When Yun Shang returned to the public dormitory alone, there was only one thought in her mind: the immortal Holy Grail. She wanted to find the immortal Holy Grail. The poison in Yun Songhai's body was temporarily suppressed under the effect of Yun Meng's frozen sleep. However, as long as the poison was not removed, her father would not be able to wake up. Yun Shang hoped to see her father again and wake up. She had already lost her mother, so she could not lose her father again. Even if the news from Wuxia Limitless School said that the artifact unearthed was not the immortal Holy Grail, as long as she obtained that artifact, she could find clues to find the next one. However, before that, she had to obtain the approval of the people from Wuxia Limitless School. This was because teacher Mei Li had also said that the battle strength had not been decided yet. Who among the three of them would be brought along, or other mages, to search for the artifact? In the next few years, she had to obtain a certain status and recognition in Wuxia Limitless School. Yun Shang was lost in thought all the way. It was already late at night, and under the dim yellow illumination of the magic array, her figure was reflected on the lawn of the campus, dragging a slender figure. With a whoosh, a person jumped out from the side. To return to the public dormitory, one had to pass through a remote path. The surroundings were already silent. The one who blocked Yun Shang was Hua Qixi. In just a few days, Hua Qixi's appearance was much worse than Yun Shang's. Although her family background was ordinary, she was an intermediate student after all. In the magic medicine department, she was considered a top figure. But now, because of Yun Shang, she had fallen to a situation worse than a dog. Hua Qixi's face, which could only be considered pleasant to look at, now looked like a resentful ghost. Yun Shang, you bitch. You've caused me so much trouble. I have nothing now. It's all because of you. One of the conditions for Yun Shang to become an exchange student was to ask the academy to thoroughly investigate the cause of the magic thunder explosion. The academy had to give an explanation, but they couldn't directly pursue Chan Lianer's responsibility, so they pushed all the blame onto Hua Qixi. Not only was she chased out of the Royal Academy of Magic, the most fatal thing was that she was stripped of her qualifications as a magician and was permanently added to the blacklist of magicians on the continent. As a result, Hua Qixi was like a rat on the street. After she left, not only could she not support her family, she could not even return home. She didn't have the face to return to her hometown and meet her parents. She also didn't have the ability to continue staying in Jade Capital. But Yun Shang, the one who caused her all the pain, obtained the qualifications to be an exchange student. In a few days, she would be heading to Wuxia Everlasting School. She couldn't accept all of this. You have nothing to begin with. Anyone who tries to obtain something that doesn't belong to them will end up with nothing. Move aside, don't force me to call the school guards to chase you out. Hua Qixi must have secretly snuck back after being chased out of the school. I could have entered the Imperial Hospital. It's all because of you. Hua Qixi's face was twisted as she took out a jade pendant. The black jade pendant. It was this jade pendant that contaminated the magic medicine on the day it was refined, causing Yun Shang and the others to almost die from the magic thunder explosion. At the same time, this jade pendant was also a magic tool. Hua Qixi held the jade pendant in her hand. From the jade pendant, streams of turbid black gas flowed out like black worms. The black gas enveloped her entire body, causing her body to rapidly change. Not good, this is demonization. Hua Qixi had already been blinded by hatred. She allowed the dark magic elements in the jade pendant to continuously devour her soul and consciousness. She had become a dark mage. I will make you pay the price of your death. All of you will die. And Qixi laughed loudly. She raised the magic scepter in her hand and a black magic element shot out, transforming into a meter-long poisonous centipede with countless poisonous feet. Dark magic was indeed powerful. It actually allowed Hua Qixi to reach a terrifying state of magic simulation in an instant. Yun Shang stood in her original position. Under the illumination of the magic array, her expression was abnormally calm. She didn't take out her magic scepter. Her hand slowly moved. Hua Qixi, who had already had most of her consciousness devoured by the dark magic elements, noticed Yun Shang's actions. She still had some impression of the same action. That day in the square, when the magic thunder explosion appeared, Yun Shang used the same method to slowly purify the contaminated magic medicine. However, why did she suddenly do this now? A ball of light that swallowed and spat out lightning was continuously forming. In the ball of light, two types of elements, blue and red, were jumping. Those were the water and fire elements. How could it be? How could Yunshang control the water and fire elements at the same time? Hua Qiki was in disbelief. She even forgot to attack. She only stared at the ball of light that was getting brighter and brighter in Yunshang's hand. Hua Qiki, I should be thanking you. Thanks to your help that day, I was able to comprehend my first personal profound magic. On the boundless continent, most of the magic was passed down. After a mage comprehended a brand new personal magic, such as Gufeng's heavenly sphere of light, this personal magic would be called profound magic. Profound magic was often a mage's final killing move. Profound magic? Who exactly are you? How could you comprehend profound magic, water magic elements, and fire magic elements? You are clearly a fire and earth dual element mage. Could it be that you are a multi-element mage? Hua Qiki couldn't help but take a few steps back. She looked at the ball of light in Yunshang's hand that was getting brighter and brighter. That magic lightning vortex that was getting stronger and stronger in Yunshang's hand made Hua Qiki feel the taste of death. She wanted to escape, but it was too late. In front of profound magic, her magic mimicry couldn't even withstand a single blow. Magic lightning vortex. Yunshang's profound magic was a magic lightning vortex. It was a combination of water and fire elements. It was the most violent and destructive magic lightning vortex. Goodbye, Hua Qiki. Under the illumination of that ball of magic lightning, Yunshang's slender fingers were almost transparent. Her lips curled into an intoxicating smile. At that moment, Hua Qiki felt regret. Who exactly did she offend? The ball of light flashed past. On the remote path, it was like a shooting star. There was a burnt smell in the air. On the ground, there was a long ditch. After tonight, no one would realize that Hua Qiki was missing from the world. Chapter 138. It was her first time killing someone. The process was not bloody, but it was very violent. After killing Hua Qiki, Yunshang was stunned for a moment. This was her first time killing someone in the truest sense of the word. Yunshang was a healer. The huge contrast between saving people in her previous life and saving people in this life made her feel uncomfortable for a moment. Using part of the dark magic energy in her body made Yunshang feel a sense of loss of control. If she did not control dark magic properly, she would be like Hua Qiki just now and lose her humanity. It seemed that she had to be careful when using dark magic elements in the future. She suppressed the discomfort in her heart, calmed her mind, and meditated for a moment. After a long while, she finally calmed down. The situation just now was a critical moment where she would die if the enemy survived. Fortunately, Yunshang controlled herself, or else she would have gone mad. Recalling the scene just now, Yunshang had to admit that the magic vortex was much more powerful than she had imagined. Hua Qiki was already a mid-level archmage student. Under the effect of the jade pendant, her strength had reached the peak of archmage, and even the threshold of a master mage. Under the circumstances of using the magic vortex, Yunshang was sure that she could kill enemies above her level. If she had the help of Xiaohei and Puffed Egg, she believed that she could kill a master mage above her level and escape smoothly. However, this did not mean that she could use the magic vortex at will, because she had paid a heavy price for it. The magic elements in her body were almost exhausted, and there was not much left. Yunshang looked at her right hand again. There was a layer of ferocious blisters on her palm. I've practiced a few more times. With the protection of the Chalcedony skill, the next time I use it, it shouldn't be blisters. Although she used the Chalcedony skill to protect her palm and sped up the technique of Trillium Hand by several times, her hand was still fragile in the face of the powerful magic vortex. After all, Yunshang only had a body of flesh and blood. Even with the Shinong medical bracelet, it was vulnerable in front of the powerful magic elements. Yunshang was a very good learner, whether it was in medicine or magic. Yunshang was determined to become a powerful magician after she obtained a 5-elemental magic spirit and her father's illness. One day, she would rely on her own strength to save her father and bring him into the Marshal Saint General's mansion. Yunshang hadn't been immersed in inexplicable joy during the time she had been confined by Master Mary. That joy wasn't because she had concocted a high-grade magic potion, the praise of the moon god, but because of the magic lightning vortex. She had clearly realized the power of the magic lightning vortex that day. Even if it was someone as powerful as the vice-head of the Wuxia Limitless School, or the principal of the Magic Academy, when they saw the magic lightning vortex, their first reaction was to try their best to avoid it. When Yunsheng was controlling the magic lightning vortex with her hand, she tried to use the internal energy of the Jade Essence skill in her body to dissolve the violent and restless magic lightning vortex. The Jade Essence skill had indeed formed a layer of internal energy similar to a protective membrane on her hand, but the intense magic conflict still produced a current, which quickly passed through her hand and drilled into her body and her mind. At first, she only felt pain, but after the pain, Yunsheng discovered that her magic spirit had undergone a slight change under the stimulation of the magic lightning vortex. Yunsheng's magic spirit was obtained from Yi Baiming. At first, it was a 5-colored magic spirit: red, yellow, green, blue, and black. But after she had experienced the magic lightning vortex last time, a small crack had appeared in the middle of her original dark magic spirit. That crack wasn't big. Yunsheng observed it for a while, but she didn't find anything special. The crack also didn't expand, and it didn't have much effect on her magic, so she didn't pay it much attention. Yunsheng tried to use the water and fire magic elements in her body. After many experiments, she finally fused them together to create the fatal attack that killed Hua Qiki tonight. This also allowed Yunsheng to successfully comprehend her first profound magic after goofing. No one knew this secret. Hua Qiki, who had witnessed this scene, had already turned into a pile of scorched earth. When Yunsheng cleaned up the scene, she discovered that after Hua Qiki was killed, her dark chaos jade pendant wasn't destroyed by the magic lightning vortex. What kind of material was it that even the magic lightning vortex, which was like a small nuclear bomb, couldn't destroy it? Yunsheng touched the jade pendant. Where her finger touched, Yunsheng could feel a gloomy and cold feeling. This jade pendant carried a large amount of dark magic spirit. It was a very evil magic weapon. Magicians with weak cultivation like Hua Qiki would definitely be affected if they wore it for a long time. No wonder Hua Qiki lost control. Yunsheng originally thought that this jade pendant was given to Hua Qiki by Chanliener. But when she thought about Chanliener, although she was domineering and arrogant, she didn't have the slightest trace of dark magic spirit. This jade pendant couldn't have come from Chanliener. It seemed that other than Chanliener, Hua Qiki might have contacted other people outside the academy. It was a pity that she was already dead, and the truth couldn't be found out. On the jade pendant, there were 2 ancient characters engraved. Yunsheng could only vaguely make out the word Ming. It seemed that Hua Qiki's death wasn't simple. It was very likely that some mysterious organization was involved. Yunsheng thought for a while and threw the jade pendant into the beast language ring. After returning to the public student dormitory, Yunsheng went to sleep with her clothes on. Steady snoring sounds could be heard in the dormitory, but she could also hear 2 beds tossing and turning from time to time. It seemed that the news of transferring to Wuxia Limitless School to study still made the other 2 members of Magical Medicine Group 13 somewhat anxious. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. The same sleepless mood also enveloped the sky above a certain training ground in Wuxia Limitless School. It was a square training ground paved with well-tempered steel bricks. The entire training ground was spacious and boundless. Its size was about the size of 5 standard sports fields in modern times. Beside the training ground, there was a stretch of tenacious bamboo for fine iron elephants that weighed more than 1,000 squatted by the side. Dozens of weapons were neatly arranged. A bare-chested youth was sweating profusely on the training ground. Whether it was his fists or legs, he changed 18 different weapons until the ground around him was soaked in sweat. It shone with a luster like the steel that had been tempered thousands of times. Hour passed. Only then did the youth circulate his do qi to his entire body. Breathing in and out, he withdrew his posture. "Zhou Xiao, I say you practice early and late." As expected of Zhou State's #1 martial arts fanatic. A very inappropriate teasing voice came from the other side of the training ground. On top of the iron elephant, there was a youth with fair skin that was as delicate as a young girl. Chapter 139. If Yunsheng was present, she would definitely recognize these 2 youths. They were Changbai and Bu Jiuxiao, whom she had met at the Royal Academy of Magic. It was already around midnight, but Bu Jiuxiao was still training hard. His title as the young expert of Wuxia Everlasting School was not just for show. I've trained early and late, but I still can't catch up to one of his toes. Even if he's lying down and sleeping, he's still many times better than me. Bu Jiuxiao originally had a poker face. As he spoke, his thick eyebrows glanced at the wall not far away in dissatisfaction. On the 5-meter-high wall of the courtyard, a corner of a robe was hanging down. A tall young man in a black robe was lying on the wall. His long hair fluttered in the night wind. Even in the dark night, his handsome facial features were like the most dazzling jewels, shining brightly. The training on the training ground seemed to have nothing to do with him. The youth had handsome eyes, a straight nose and thin lips like a knife. Under the velvet purple robe, his muscles were clearly defined. A lazy and seductive aura was invisibly emitted from his body. Bu Jiuxiao frowned. With a shake of his wrist, a long spear beside him flew into the air like a snake coming out of its hole. With a tut, it pierced straight towards the wall not far away. The youth lying on the wall seemed to be in deep sleep. He did not notice the spiritual spear that was like a dragon coming out of the sea. Just as the long spear was about to pierce the youth turned over. The long spear suddenly changed direction and pierced the ground. Instantly on the ground, a burst of metal sparks flew. The iron bricks that were several inches thick were pierced through like tofu. A large hole was pierced through them, giving off an ear-piercing sound. Perhaps because the sound was too loud, the youth opened his eyes. A pair of light gray eyes in the dark night emitted a deep light. Jiuxiao, your accuracy is getting worse and worse. The youth's low voice echoed in the empty training ground. His voice was not loud, but it was very powerful. Bu Jiuxiao only felt his chest tighten. His figure flashed, and the youth was already standing on the training ground. Biming Jiuxiao was forced by you. Tell me, after you returned to Jade Capital, how many times have you met up with us? It wasn't easy for Jiuxiao to call you over to spar with him, but you only cared about sleeping the moment you came. Changbai clapped his hands and laughed. Yi Biming, Bu Jiuxiao, and Changbai had been good friends since they were children. Before the former crown prince Yi Biming was dethroned, he used to study in the imperial study. At that time, Bu and Cheng were his study companions. Even though Yi Biming was crippled and his status plummeted, Bu Jiuxiao and Changbai didn't distance themselves from him because of this. After Yi Biming was crippled, he was imprisoned in the Cold Palace for nearly 5 years. During this period of time, only the vice-head of the Wuxia Limitless School went to the palace to teach the princes, princesses, and some of the sons of the Zhou state's high officials some basic martial arts. After Yi Biming's mother died, those old palace servants were also executed one after another. The palace servants in the Cold Palace also used their power to bully others. They knew that the former crown prince had no one to support him, and he was also blind, so they deducted his salary many times and didn't even give him winter clothes and blankets. Although Bu and Cheng were still young at that time, they were people who valued friendship. Even though their parents, the princes who studied in the same hall, and the sons of officials all said that Yi Biming was an unlucky person, they didn't care about this. When they were slightly younger, the two of them went through the dog hole in the Cold Palace to visit their good friend Yi Biming. They hid it from their parents and secretly sent their blankets and winter clothes to the Cold Palace. After Yi Biming's mother died, he became a man of few words. In addition, he was blind, so his daily life was really boring. Bu and Cheng tried to teach Yi Biming all the martial arts they had learned, hoping that he would have something to spend his time with. Who knew that Yi Biming's talent in martial arts was outstanding? Although he didn't go through a systematic martial arts training, in just a few years, he surpassed Bu and Cheng's cultivation. Bu and Cheng really didn't have anything to teach, so they told the truth to the deputy head of Wuxia Everlasting Hall, Zhang Li. Only then did Zhang Li unexpectedly discover that Yi Biming was a martial arts genius. Zhang Li used this opportunity to suggest to the Zhou state's emperor that he teach the dethroned crown prince Yi Biming martial arts. The Zhou state's emperor was in a good mood that day, and he also caught up with old General Yun and the others to plead for mercy for the dethroned crown prince. So he agreed to let Zhang Li enter the Cold Palace and teach Yi Biming martial arts. 5 years of cold and helpless life in the Cold Palace. It was Bu Jiuxiao and Cheng Bai who accompanied Yi Baiming that allowed him to survive like a weed. The relationship between the three of them had long since surpassed the concept of childhood playmates. About a year ago, the 10-year-old Yi Baiming suddenly disappeared. In the palace, no one cared about the whereabouts of the dethroned crown prince. The palace servants who were watching over him didn't dare to report it, so the matter was concealed. After Bu and Cheng found out, they did their best to search for him. Zhanli also had the martial arts school's forces search the entire country. Originally, they thought that Yi Baiming would never come back. Who would have thought that just a few months ago Yi Baiming would come back? Not only did he come back, even his innate blindness was cured. What was even more surprising was that Yi Baiming's martial arts cultivation had also advanced by leaps and bounds. He had become the youngest martial marquis in the history of Wuxia Everlasting Hall. The 11-year-old martial marquis was a full year earlier than Cheng Bai and Bu Jiuxiao, who were 12 years old. This news was only officially announced in the Zhou State's imperial court 3 months ago. The military officials led by the Marquis of Zheuyuan took this opportunity to request the Zhou State's emperor to revoke the 6 years of confinement order in the Cold Palace. The former crown prince of Zhou State, Yi Baiming, had officially joined Wuxia Limitless Hall and became the head of the Limitless Three Young Masters of Wuxia Limitless Hall. The other two were Bu Jiuxiao and Cheng Bai. Even though he had never mentioned in front of anyone where he had gone in the past year. However, the tacit understanding that they had grown up together still allowed Bu Jiuxiao and Cheng Bai to discover something unusual. After returning this time, Yi Baiming was a little different. His face was still handsome and flawless, but there were more complicated things in his gray eyes that had recovered their sight. He had grown much taller, and his attacks were even more biting cold. And his cultivation had also made an astonishing breakthrough. Bu Jiuxiao was sure that the current Yi Baiming was definitely not just a martial marquis. He no longer made a move easily, but once he did, it would definitely be earth-shattering. The deputy director of combat strength had once said that only those who had truly experienced a life-and-death battle could hone such a temperament. Yi Baiming was now a hidden sword in his belly that could bloom with a fatal light at any time. You guys invited me over, it can't be that you want me to exchange moves with Jiuxiao, right? Yi Baiming revealed a smile. Only in front of his good friends could he completely relax. Sleeping on top of the wall, he could only have a good night's sleep in front of his two friends and her. Bu Jiuxiao and Cheng Bai did not know that he had not slept well for a long time. Of course not. Cheng Bai and I met Crown Prince Yi Baiming and Chen Lian, at the Royal Magic Academy. Bu Jiuxiao carefully observed Yi Baiming's expression. Chapter 140. Yi Baiming didn't react at all. One of them was the person who had taken away Yi Baiming's position as crown prince, while the other was Yi Baiming's fiancé. When Yi Baiming was still the crown prince, Yi Bailian had always tried to curry favor with him. Cheng Bai, who had been smart since he was young, had said that Yi Bailian's eyes were more scary than pupils. He was a classic villain. As expected, not long after Yi Baiming was dethroned, that ingrate Yi Bailian turned his back on him. Not only did he personally get a eunuch to kill Yi Baiming's wet nurse, he even brought Chen Lian to Yi Baiming to taunt him. Although Yi Baiming was young, he had grown up in a place like the palace. He had been blind since he was young, so he knew much more than the average person. He felt terrible at the time, but he didn't do anything. He just hid all the bitterness in his heart. Bu Jiuxiao and Cheng Bai also deliberately didn't mention them in front of him. This time Bu Jiuxiao took the initiative to mention them. He wanted to see Yi Baiming's reaction. This time after Yi Baiming came back, Bu Jiuxiao and Cheng Bai only felt that he had changed. That change was not only in his eyes, but also in Zhou State's emperor and crown prince Yi Bailian. He didn't seem to care about them at all. Yi Baiming also knew about going to the Royal Magic Academy to observe. However, he had long heard that the Royal Magic Academy's strength was average. In addition, he had received news that Yi Bailian would go, so he found an excuse to decline. Yi Baiming used a very casual tone, but Bu Jiuxiao and Cheng Bai felt a chill when they heard it. After Yi Baiming regained his sight, his gray eyes always flashed with a flirtatious light. No one could guess what he was thinking. After Yi Baiming came back, he took the initiative to ask for permission to move out of the palace. Within Zhou State, it was impossible to confer the title of prince, if one did not have outstanding military achievements. Even if one was a prince, it was the same. Other than the crown prince, Yi Balian, who was favored by the emperor of Zhou state and had a courtyard in the Jade capital, the other princes did not have a residence in the city. Yi Baiming was temporarily staying in the dojo. After he left the palace, he asked his friends not to call him by his full name. He no longer had the aura of a member of the royal family. In the past year or so, he had been killing blood cloud beasts all over the place. His reputation had risen in Zhou state, and even the imperial city of Zhou state had begun to view him in a new light. However, he was still not given any official position by the dynasty. He was still a nosy prince. However, in the eyes of Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai, this plain-clothed Yi Baiming was the real king of Zhou state. Even though they did not know why the imperial city of Zhou state would oppress Yi Baiming, who was the most outstanding of his sons, Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai had already made up their minds to follow Yi Baiming for the rest of their lives. They're doing well. Come to think of it, I haven't seen them in years. Yi Baiming changed his tone to one of indifference. It was as if he was discussing whether they had eaten that night. They're doing very well. They're the president and vice president of the Labor Combat Association in a trashy school like the Royal Magic Academy. Chang Bai was very sarcastic. However, he thought about it again. Hey, you don't care at all. That adulterous couple is so mushy in front of others. I can't stand it anymore. Then tell me, what are you doing in that trashy school? Don't tell me it's just to visit an old friend. Yi Baiming changed his tone to a teasing one. Even though they were both men, the two of them felt their hearts beat faster when they saw Yi Baiming's smile. The 8 Wastelands divine tool will be unearthed in a few years. The vice president wants to find a few outstanding mages to accompany him. I don't know if that guy's head was kicked by a magical beast, but he actually wants to find suitable candidates in the Royal Magic Academy. Bu Jiuxiao and Chang Bai originally only wanted to watch a show when they went to the Royal Magic Academy. After all, they were very clear about the teaching standards of the Royal Magic Academy. They were all hedonistic sons of rich parents. The news of the 8 Wastelands divine tool being unearthed was not considered a big secret in the Wuxia Everlasting School. The old master of the Wuxia Everlasting School was someone who did not care about anything. He was never seen from the beginning to the end of the year. The news of the 8 Wastelands divine tool was sent back by the old master in a letter. The vice president was in charge of the daily affairs of the school. He had already announced to everyone that as long as they had the ability, everyone would be qualified to search for the divine tool group. However, everyone knew that in the entire Wuxia Everlasting School, there were 3 people who would definitely be qualified. That was the Wuji 3 young masters, the golden triangle of the school, Yi Bu and Chang. Chang Bai, pay attention to your words. The vice president must have his reasons for doing things. Also, the Royal Magic Academy is not as simple as you and Yi think. The 3 selected exchange students cannot be underestimated. Bu Jiuxiao originally had the same thoughts as Chang Bai. However, what happened that day at the Magic Academy had completely changed his view of her. Jiuxiao, the one you said cannot be underestimated, is it that little fatty who only knows how to defend, or that little girl who was lucky enough to concoct a high-grade magic potion, or that strange cloaked man? Chang Bai grinned, revealing a mouthful of sparkling white teeth. Oh, looks like the 2 of you have gained quite a bit from this trip. Those 3 people are the exchange students that the vice president said would come to the Wuxia Everlasting School to report after the annual break, right? Yi Baiming had long been used to the bickering style of communication between his 2 best friends. That's them. We still have to wait for another 2 months. I almost forgot that the annual break is about to begin. What are your plans for this year's break? Chang Bai remembered that the winter was coming and Zhou State was also about to celebrate the new year. Zhou State's dojos and magic academies would have an annual break at the end of every year. The annual break lasted for 2 months. During these 2 months, most warriors and mages would return home to reunite with their families. Of course, there would also be some hard-working students who would arrange special training during these 2 months in order to raise their cultivation. I plan to make a trip to the south. There's a blood cloud beast in the south. Royal father sent me to kill it, Yi Baiming said indifferently. We'll go with you, Chang Bai and Bu Jiuxiao said in unison. The annual break meant celebrating the new year. Zhou State's emperor had actually sent him to kill a blood cloud beast during the new year. He was truly a cold and heartless father. Yi Baiming didn't really care. His mother was already dead. To him, the annual break was just an empty title. Rather than staying in the Jade capital and being treated coldly, it would be better to travel to the south and gain some experience. Let me say this first, it's not for fun. It should be a high-grade magical beast. Yi Baiming narrowed his eyes. When he mentioned the blood cloud beast, Chang Bai and Bu Juxiao's expressions changed slightly. However, their eyes immediately lit up with interest. They had long since grown tired of the peaceful days in the Jade capital. Before they went to look for divine artifacts, they had indeed walked around outside to gain some experience. Chapter 141. After the final examination, it meant that this year's magic studies had reached the end. The end of the year was near, and the new year was coming. The bustling campus suddenly became empty. The folklore of the boundless continent still paid attention to the new year. In the 1st and 12th lunar months, most of the dojos, private schools, and magic academies would stop classes. The Royal Magic Academy was no exception. Hua Qi's death didn't attract anyone's attention. After the incident, her mother came to the academy to look for Hua Qi. After knowing that her daughter had been driven out of the academy, she fainted at the school gate. In the end, Gu Feng couldn't bear it and secretly gave her some gold coins. Yun Shang didn't object to this. Hua Qi's family was innocent. Yun Shang also specially asked Gu Feng to ask if Hua Qi had made friends with some unknown people in private. Anton didn't have any impression, and only said that her daughter hadn't returned home for many years. Last time, after her father broke his leg, she only asked someone to send some money home. She said that she found a job in a shop in the city, but Anton didn't know which shop it was. Seeing that he couldn't get anything out of her, Gu Feng comforted her and promised to help Anton keep an eye on Hua Qi's whereabouts before sending her back home. After Gu Feng had received the 10,000 gold coins from Yun Shang, his life improved a lot. He didn't send all of it home, saying that his parents had never seen so much money in their lives. He was afraid that his parents would worry about where the money came from. He still saved it for his younger siblings to study and start a family in the future. With Gu Feng's help, Yun Shang completed the last batch of herbs in the public herb field. The three of them also received the recommendation letter from the Academic Affairs Office. When spring came next year, the three of them could report to Wushuan Everlasting School with the recommendation letter. Gu Feng wanted to return home for the new year. Before leaving, he asked about Yun Shang and Qi's arrangements. Yun Shang wanted to go back to Huichan Hall to help, but Qi said the word gambling house, which was considered a reply. What a pity. I originally wanted to invite you to go home with me. Although my family is very poor, the village is very lively during the new year. Gu Feng reluctantly bid farewell to the two of them. After Yun Shang and Abandon sent Gu Feng away, they parted ways at the gate of the school. Abandon went to the Wanlong Casino in the city. As for Yun Shang, she started to make her own plans. She did not return to the medical center immediately. Instead, she went back to the public student dormitory first. During the annual break, the entire dormitory was almost empty. Yun Shang took out the skeleton of the berserk corpse cow from the beast language ring. After Yun Shang's Shenong pupil broke through to the second level, she could roughly tell the age of a magical beast. This set of berserk corpse cow's bones had reached 130 years old. It was a peak 4th-ranked magical beast that had yet to reach the 5th rank. Moreover, this set of bones was very complete. It could be said that it was perfectly collected. From the spine to the ribs, there was no damage at all. In this way, the magical elements in Do Qi and the bones were also very well preserved. If put on the market, it would be worth no less than 1,000 gold coins. After confirming the age of the beast, Yun Shang was even more aware that Night Fox's strength was extremely strong. He casually gave away such a set of bones and he did not feel any heartache. Yun Shang originally wanted to find Uncle Iron in Banana Leaf Village to help make a set of heart bone needles and scalpels. After all, the beast teeth of the golden rhino boar had been used many times and had been severely worn out. As a strict doctor, Yun Shang understood the principle that if a worker wanted to use a good tool, he must first use a good tool. In a situation where most people thought that Yun Shang was a magician, If she could skillfully use the soul-healing divine needle, then it would definitely have a good effect. But what disappointed Yun Shang was that after Uncle Iron looked at the set of bones, he embarrassedly said that he had no way to help Yun Shang forge this set of bones. The bones of the Boundless Lands beasts, especially the high-grade ones, were much harder than the usual metal ores. The first scalpels of the golden rhino boar that Tai Gang forged for Yun Shang were between the second and third rank beast bones. As long as it went through 100 hammers, it could be forged into a scalpels. But the berserk corpse cow was different. It could not be forged using normal forging hammers. It could only be refined using magical elements or do qi. Tai Gang was only an ordinary blacksmith and could not forge it. With no other choice, Yun Shang could only store the 100-year beast bones in the beast language ring. When she followed her father, Yun Songhai, to the Jade capital, Yun Shang also tried to ask around in various blacksmiths, but the answer she received was the same. She had to find a magician or a warrior to forge it into a magic weapon or weapon. A year passed in the blink of an eye, and this set of bones had been lying in the beast language ring for that long. After Yun Shang had the experience of forging a magic scepter with a unicorn's bone, she knew that with her 5 elemental magic spirits, she could forge an unusual magic weapon. She decided to enter the magic tower again before leaving the Royal Magic Academy, and try to forge the berserk corpse cow's bone again. She still had a high-grade magic card with her. Yun Shang remembered that Puffed Egg had once said that the higher the level of the magic tower, the more abundant the magical elements were. She planned to explore the 6th level of the magic tower, while she was still in the Magic Academy. As long as the quality of the magic scepter was not worse than the unicorn's bone, she would be satisfied. Yun Shang carefully kept the beast language ring and brought the remaining few magic cards with her to the magic tower. Most of the students and teachers in the Magic Academy had already returned home. The magic tower was also much more deserted, but the old magician who looked like an owl was still guarding there. When he saw Yun Shang, he did not ask why Yun Shang did not return home. But when Yun Shang took out the high-grade magic card, the old magician could not help but take a few more glances at it. After all, not many students had high-grade magic cards. You are the beginner student who created the high-grade magic potion during the magic potion forging demonstration? This old magician looked like he did not care about worldly affairs, but he seemed to know everything that happened in the Magic Academy like the back of his hand. After confirming Yun Shang's identity, the old magician did not make things difficult for her. 615 magic space. After the old magician handed over the magic crystal key, Yun Shang thanked him. When she was about to go upstairs, the old magician suddenly called out to her, "Wait a moment, take this key with you." 2 keys? Yun Shang looked at the crystal key. One was 615, and the other was 616. The 2 keys looked exactly the same, but why did the old magician give her 2 keys? After you go up, use 616 key first. If you can't open it, don't force yourself. Just go to 615 magic space. The old magician waved his hand, unwilling to say anything more to Yun Shang. Yun Shang could only take the key and go up the magic tower. The old magician seemed to be talking to himself, looking at Yun Shang's back. I hope I didn't make a mistake. Chapter 142. The advanced magic spaces were located on the 5th to 6th floors of the magic tower. The higher the floor, the richer the magic elements. When Yun Shang arrived at the 6th floor, she discovered that the magic spaces here were different from the elementary magic spaces on the 2nd floor. The magic spaces here were divided according to different natural attributes. Holding the 2 keys, Yun Shang could feel the magic elements flowing out from the different magic spaces. Some were hot, some were cool, some were cold, and some were heavy. The magic elements on the higher floors of the magic tower were completely different from the magic elements on the lower floors. Most of the magic elements here were divided according to the 4 main attributes, making them purer. Cultivating here would be 10 times faster than usual. When she arrived at the 616 magic space, Yun Shang remembered the old magician's advice and decided to try to open the 616 magic space first. Yun Shang just took out the crystal key and was about to insert it into the keyhole, but just as her hand was about to touch the key, the crystal key in her hand shattered. A huge amount of magic power, enough to crush Yun Shang into powder, bounced out from the magic space. Yun Shang was shaken back a few meters before she could stabilize her footsteps. Failed. Yun Shang already understood that the 616 magic space must be a very special magic space. Not everyone could open it. In fact, since the magic tower stood in the Imperial Magic Academy for decades, no one had been able to open the door to this magic space. No one, including the old magician, knew what was inside the 616 magic space. It could only be to go to the 615 magic space to refine the bone needles of the berserk corpse cow. Although Yun Shang was somewhat curious, she didn't care much and walked towards the 615 magic space. Although it was only a few steps away, the 615 magic space was easily opened. Just when Yun Shang was hesitating whether or not to directly enter the 616 magic space, she remembered the puffed egg. She quickly summoned the puffed egg. As soon as it smelled the familiar scent of the magic tower, the puffed egg became excited. If Yun Shang remembered correctly, the puffed egg could break the magic restriction of the magic space. Puffed egg, can you find a way to enter the 616 magic space? Yun Shang pointed at the 616 magic space. My dear master, just you wait. The puffed egg proudly flapped its wings. The mana gate, which had shown a strong repulsive force to Yun Shang, seemed to be transparent in front of the puffed egg. The puffed egg drilled into the mana space, and after a while the puffed egg struggled to fly out, carrying something on its back. Not only could the puffed egg pass through the magic barrier without any hindrance, it could even bring out the items inside. Yun Shang could not help but look at her own summoning egg in a new light. Other than its love of sleep and monstrous strength, the puffed egg was still useful. Yun Shang could not help but wonder if she could let the puffed egg bring her through the magic barrier in the future. Collecting her thoughts, Yun Shang paid attention to the item on the puffed egg's back. Tower. That's right, there was a finger-sized tower on the puffed egg's back. The shape of the tower looked familiar. Yun Shang pondered for a moment, then looked at her feet and suddenly understood. The tower brought out from the 616 magic space was exactly the same as the magic tower in the Royal Magic Academy. It also had 6 floors, but the size was thousands of times smaller. The strangest thing was that although the tower was small, it was shockingly heavy. Even with the monstrous strength of the puffed egg, it could only barely drag it. Yun Shang hurriedly let the puffed egg bring the tower into the 615 magic space. Only in the 615 magic space would it be safe enough. The puffed egg was exhausted. It was easy for it to pass through the magic barrier alone, but it was difficult to carry the tower. Seeing Egg Popping drooping its wings and looking like it was about to cry out in exhaustion, Yun Shang found it funny. Okay. I'll bring you to find some delicious magical beast meat later. The puffed egg loved magical beast meat very much. It was still young and could only eat low-level magical beast meat. When it grew up, its requirements would be higher. Yun Shang carefully looked at the tower in front of her. She originally thought that the tower was just a model made by a magician who had entered the 616 magic space for fun. However, upon closer inspection, she realized that the tower was exquisitely carved and the internal structure was exactly the same as the magic tower. At the bottom of the small tower, she saw the name of the tower, Exquisite Beast King Tower. Master, use your 5 elemental spirit to refine it. The puffed egg seemed to know the origin of the tower and urged Yun Shang to refine it. Yun Shang released her 5 elemental spirit. 5 different colored magical elements climbed up the small tower like 5 ropes. The small tower seemed to have realized that Yun Shang wanted to refine it. The small tower, which was originally standing still, seemed to have been hit by fire. It jumped up and down trying to escape from the 615 magic space. However, Yun Shang was already prepared. Her elemental spirit enveloped the small tower. She and the tower seemed to be wrestling with each other, neither willing to let go first. Finally, the small tower's energy was exhausted. Yun Shang's magical elements were like countless tentacles that drilled into the small tower and obtained information about the small tower. Yun Shang found out that the Exquisite Beast Tower had a great origin. It and the Magic Tower in the Imperial Magic Academy were originally twin towers. One was the Exquisite Human Tower, which was used for human cultivation. The other was the Exquisite Beast Tower, which was used for magical beasts to cultivate. Yun Shang had already refined the tower during the wrestling of magical elements. She also knew that the exquisite beast tower had been turned into this pocket-sized tower by someone using a special method. The 616 magic space was the seal that had been made with a special method. This seal was extremely powerful. Even if a sky magus came, they might not be able to open it. No one expected that Yunshang's puffed egg would be able to break the magic barrier and pull the exquisite beast tower out. The exquisite beast tower's magic barrier was unintentionally broken because of this. Once the seal was broken, the exquisite beast tower was refined by Yunshang using her elemental spirit. Its size could also be changed according to Yunshang's will. Puffed egg, you really did a great job this time. Yunshang had always wanted to bring Xiaohei into the magic tower to cultivate. However, she had always been wary of the old magician in the magic tower and did not succeed. With this exquisite beast tower, it was equivalent to having a portable magic beast cultivation tower. It was a tower specially built for magical beasts. Yunshang could throw the puffed egg and Xiaohei into it. Yunshang tried to control the exquisite beast tower. Big. The exquisite beast tower was like a leek that had eaten the spring rain and immediately grew a little taller. As long as the conditions permitted, Yunshang could completely turn the exquisite beast tower into the size of a magic tower. After happily shrinking the magic tower and putting it into the beast's speech ring, Yunshang did not forget about today's business, which was to refine a new set of bone needles and scalpels. Chapter 143. After taking out the whole skeleton of the berserk corpse cow, Yunshang did not immediately start to refine the magic tool. Just now, when she was refining the exquisite beast pagoda, Yunshang had consumed a little bit of magic power, but at the same time she also had a new understanding of refining magic tools. In the Imperial Magic Academy's library, there were the most basic magic tool refining books. Yunshang had looked up the related books, and according to the methods in the books, when she was refining the unicorn bone magic scepter, she had used the magic element of a single element to refine it. But this time, she wanted to use the magic elements of multiple elements and try to refine this set of bones. The magic books did not record this kind of refining method, but it did not mean that Yunshang could not try it. After all, Yunshang was the only 5-element magician in the whole continent, other than Yi Baiming. Yunshang once again released her magic soul. The unique 5-color magic soul under Yunshang's meditation sparkled like a magic cloud. Yunshang tried to refine the berserk corpse cow's bones with the fire element that she was most proficient in. The gorgeous fire element rushed towards the berserk corpse cow's bones. But the strange thing was, the fire element did not immediately rush into the bones like when refining the unicorn bone magic scepter. Instead, it was rebounded. Then, as if the corpse cow's bones were alive, it stood up with creaking sounds. A scarlet mist shot out from its empty lair and shot towards Yunshang. It was a vicious counterattack. Yunshang did not expect that she would encounter such a dangerous situation in her second attempt to refine a magic tool. In the magic books, she had read about a similar refining phenomenon. When refining the bones of a high-level magic beast, if the magic beast was a vicious and bloodthirsty magic beast when it was alive, or if the magic beast was killed with a lot of resentment before it died, then the magician had to be very careful when refining. In addition to carefully arranging a defensive magic array, the magician also needed to have a high level of refining experience. But for Yunshang, who only had 2 refining experiences, she was completely unprepared. Surprised, Yunshang chanted an incantation and used the light wind technique, nimbly dodging the murderous aura. The soul stone on the magic scepter shone, and the intermediate spell, Fire Net, covered the struggling skeleton like a huge net, making it difficult for it to move. The fiery net burned the bones of the cow corpse, while a few earth thorns rose from the ground, nailing the bones to the ground. After using 3 types of magic in succession, Yunshang's magic elements were quickly depleted. She took out 2 bottles of meditation water and drank them. Fortunately, she had made preparations for this refinement and had made a few bottles of meditation water in advance. Under the effect of the meditation water, the magic elements in Yunshang's body that had been depleted quickly condensed. In addition to the abundant magic elements in the surroundings, Yunshang quickly recovered her magic. All kinds of magic elements poured into Yunshang's body like seawater. For a moment, Yunshang was like a huge black hole that devoured magic elements, and the magic elements in the surroundings were crazily swallowed by her body. Yunsheng was quickly able to mobilize the magic elements again. And under the effect of several types of magic elements, the set of bones of the cow corpse also changed. The bones, which were originally the size of a calf, were dissolved and shattered by the magic elements, and then fused together again, finally turning into a ball of bone paste the size of a fist. Yunsheng outlined the appearance of modern scalpels and golden needles in her mind, and the ball of bone paste transformed into the shape of a needle. After an hour of meditation, the magic elements were withdrawn, and Yunsheng's hand had 4 needles. Unexpectedly, a complete set of bones of the berserk cow corpse could only be refined into 4 needles that were as thick as a cow's hair. The 4 needles, compared to the needles made by blacksmiths, were thinner and longer, and their colors were also very special. They were red, yellow, blue, and green respectively. The red needle was like a raging flame, and had a strong penetrating power, and was best used for attacking. The yellow needle had a steady aura of earth, and was best used for suturing wounds. The green needle was light and elegant, and was best used for acupuncture and moxibustion. The blue needle was flexible and long, and was best used for healing external wounds and stopping bleeding. When Yunsheng was refining just now, she had integrated the magic of the 4 major attributes into the 4 needles. These 4 needles had now become the only set of magic needles on the continent that had magic and medical functions. Because of their transparent color and jade-like luster, Yunsheng gave them the magic tool name of 4 Seasons glass needles. It seemed that she still needed to find suitable materials to refine the scalpels. Yunsheng was satisfied as she put the needles back into the beast language ring. Then, she looked at the magic power space and found that the magic elements in the magic power space had been squandered by her. Yunsheng's magic soul had also grown by 1/3 during the refining process just now. Yunsheng found that whether it was refining magic tools or magic potions, it was very beneficial for the cultivation of the magic soul. Yunsheng's magic soul control was now much stronger than the average great magician. She had also learned a kind of intermediate magic, and as long as she went to the temple for evaluation, she would officially be promoted to great magician. It seemed that if the 615 magic power space wanted to recover its original abundance of magic elements, it would at least have to wait for a while. Fortunately, it was now the annual break, and no one would come to the magic power tower to cultivate again. In the 615 magic power space, without the magic elements, Yunsheng couldn't cultivate anymore. In order to avoid arousing the suspicion of the old magician guarding the magic power tower, she had to leave the magic power tower early. When she returned the key to the 616 magic power space to the old magician, he looked a little disappointed, but he didn't ask too much. It seemed that the Imperial Magic Academy vaguely knew that there was a treasure hidden in the magic power tower, but for many years, no one had been able to enter the 616 magic power space. The old magician would never know that the exquisite beast tower that had once made the continent's top summoners go crazy had already been taken away by Yunsheng and Puffed Egg. Yunsheng rushed back to the medical center. After greeting Dr. Fan, Yunsheng went to the backyard to visit her father. In the magic array of dream cloud hibernation, an icy aura enveloped Yun Songhai, and her father looked a lot more haggard. Yunsheng couldn't help but frown. Yun Songhai's current situation was very similar to that of a vegetable. Even if dream cloud hibernation could make him fall into a coma and not die, without the modern sense of nutrient solution, the human body's consumption would be very large, and all the organs in the body would be affected. If only I could find the immortal Holy Grail earlier, Yunsheng secretly thought. After leaving her father's room, Yunsheng went to find Xiaohei. Because the Imperial Magic Academy didn't allow pets, Yunsheng sent Xiaohei back to the medical center after entering the academy. Dr. Fan's routine of working at sunrise and resting at sunrise almost caused Xiaohei to fall ill. Yunsheng took out the exquisite beast tower and placed Xiaohei and Puff Egg into it. Then, she shrunk the magic power tower and stored it in the beast speech ring. Cultivating in the exquisite beast tower could increase the cultivation speed of the 2 magical beasts by at least 5 to 10 times. She believed that it wouldn't be long before the 2 magical beasts had a breakthrough. In the next few days, because the end of the year was approaching, the medical center's business was booming. Relying on Yunsheng and Dr. Fan, they were very busy. Yun Shang took care of the medical center during the day and meditated at night. Unknowingly, she had mastered the contents of the second intermediate magic scroll that teacher Mei Li had given her, the intermediate magic spell Earth Melt. On this day, Yun Shang was busy in the medical center when she suddenly heard someone calling her name. Looking up, she saw a person standing outside the medical center. Chapter 144. Outside the clinic stood a tall and burly woman. She was valiant and exuded a terrifying aura. That was the unique aura of a hunter. The patients who wanted to enter the clinic were so scared that they all stepped aside. Yun Shang couldn't help but smile. The person who came was Mu Nanyan of the Huangting hunting squad. Mu Nanyan had a fiery personality. She came to look for Yun Shang because she had just heard that Yun Shang had passed the various examinations of the Royal Magic Academy with excellent results in the final examination. This also meant that Yun Shang already had the ability to control beginner-level magic. It was also time for her to go with them to participate in the B-ranked hunting squad's examination. After explaining the purpose of her visit to Yun Shang pondered for a moment. Dr. Fan, who was at the side, carefully asked about the cause and process of the matter. Unexpectedly, he didn't object to Yun Shang going to participate in the hunting squad's advancement examination. Hunting is a job with real swords and spears, but it is also the best way to train people. Huangting is also a well-known hunting squad in the country. Going with them to gain experience is much better than going to the clinic to treat some trivial problems. Besides, it's the end of the year and the clinic will be closed for a while. Your father will be left to me. Don't worry and go. Dr. Fan understood Yun Shang's talent and advised her to go with Mu Nanyan. If it wasn't for Dr. Fan's ordinary cultivation, he would have long wanted to go to the battlefield to become a battlefield doctor. In his opinion, brilliant medical skills needed to be comprehended and practiced by continuously treating high-risk patients. Yun Shang was still young. It was not suitable for her to go to the battlefield directly. Going with Huangting's people, not only could she hone her courage and experience, but also improve her medical skills. That was the best thing to do. Yun Shang also had the same idea. She had honed her skills in the Royal Magic Academy for a year. The two intermediate-level magic that she had just learned had not really been practiced in actual combat. It was just right to take advantage of this hunting squad's examination to test the water. Yun Shang didn't know that in the hearts of the few people in Huangting's hunting squad, they didn't want Yun Shang to take action at all. Who asked her to be too young and was only a mage? Letting Yun Shang go with them was just using her identity as a summoner. The three of them had already discussed it. If Yun Shang was willing to go to the examination site, she would be the key target of protection. They must ensure that not a drop of water would not leak. Yun Shang packed her luggage and prepared some medicinal herbs and magic potions. Before leaving, she didn't forget to say goodbye to her father, Yun Songhai's father. Father, forgive Shang-er for not being able to spend the new year with you. However, Shang-er will be a member of the B-grade hunting squad. In the south of Zhou State, you have told Shang-er about the local conditions and customs in the south. Shang-er will go this time. Knowing that her father wouldn't hear her words, Yun Shang still quietly said in her father's ear. After she personally performed a dreamy cloud ice sleep, she wiped her father's face. Only then did she go with Mu Nanyan to Wunren Manor to meet up with the other two people. Yun Songhai, who was inside the dreamy cloud ice sleep magic array, still had a layer of frost on his face and was silent. As the new year approached, the weather in Yujing City also became cold. The lush trees on both sides of the street also gradually withered, and yellow leaves fell to the ground. A few days ago it had just snowed. Fortunately, Yun Shang and Mu Nanyan's physical qualities were extraordinary. At this moment they were both wearing a single layer of clothing. Wunren Manor, which hadn't been here for more than half a year, also had a festive new year at this moment. Under the pure white snow, the red lanterns swayed unceasingly under the northern wind. Under the command of the old housekeeper, the servants had also renovated the manor from top to bottom. Wunren Qiu was still the same as before. When she saw Yun Shang, she didn't forget to rub Yun Shang's head, causing Yun Shang to dodge incessantly. After the new year, Yun Shang would be 7 years old. During this year she had also grown a lot taller. However, on the outside, she still looked like a harmless little lowly. This was also what made Yun Sheng the most depressed. Just imagine an adult in her 20s who was almost 30 years old being treated like a little girl. No one would be happy about it. Little girl, you are quite impressive. I thought that you would need to stay at the Imperial Magic Academy for at least 3 to 5 years before you could grasp elementary magic. I didn't expect you to be familiar with all kinds of elementary magic so quickly. This way, you are qualified to go with us to Mount Daoi to participate in the assessment for the promotion of the hunting team. Wenren chuckled. Her tone was extremely similar to that of a human trafficker who abducted children. Wenren couldn't help beaming with joy when she recalled the scene of her showing off her skills in the assessment field. Yun Sheng secretly thought that if Wenren knew that she had also refined a high-grade magic potion, she wondered how shocked he would be. Of course, it was better not to talk about this matter. But the new year is approaching. Don't Brother Wenren and the others need to stay at home? Yun Sheng knew that the customs of the mainland had always been particular about traditions. We are hunters. What new year is there to be concerned about? Boss is teaching in the Magic Academy. For half a year he can't go on a team mission. Mu Nanyan and I are so bored that we are going to go moldy. Let me tell you, the hunter assessment is very exciting. You can see whether or not you are an expert. You will be joining Wushuan Wuji School next year. It is good for you to get used to it early. As far as I know, there are a lot of warriors roaming around Mount Daoi. Wenren mouth was quite powerful. She could make the dead sound alive. Wenren and Mu Nanyan really didn't take any hunting missions for the past half a year. It wasn't that the two were lazy, but because their strength was now at the peak of sea level. Accepting a sea-level hunting mission wasn't challenging at all. But they weren't qualified to accept a B-level mission. Therefore, the two simply didn't go on a mission. It was also because they were really bored and because they knew that Yun Sheng's magic had improved that Mu Nanyan took the initiative to go to the medical hall to ask for her. Unexpectedly, Yun Sheng didn't show the slightest bit of timidity and directly agreed. This also made Wenren and Mu Nanyan have a better impression of Yun Sheng. After a while, Fengque also rushed over. Knowing that Yun Sheng agreed to participate in the assessment, Fengque's big mouth opened wide. To be honest, he had wanted to encourage Yun Sheng to participate in the mercenary assessment for a long time. After all, he had always wanted to upgrade his hunting team. It was just that he was Yun Sheng's mentor. Encouraging a 7-year-old student to participate in the mercenary assessment felt a little too much. But after his observation over the past year, Yun Sheng's wisdom was far more mature than the average child, even compared to his two impetuous teammates. If they brought her along, it was still unknown who would cause trouble for whom. The four of them discussed and decided that Yun Sheng would join Huang Tung as a summoner this time. Her summoned beast didn't need a puffed egg. Instead, she used a more normal-looking Xiaohei to fool people. Wenren had already ordered the housekeeper to rent a carriage. Yun Sheng and Mu Nanyan sat in the carriage, while Wenren and Fengque rode horses. The two of them went together to Mount Daoi, the hunter citadel in the south of Zhou State. Chapter 145. For this trip, Yun Sheng followed Huang Tung's hunting team as Yin Yan's summoner. Bringing along Xiaohei was also something that Yun Sheng had planned for a long time. Not to mention other things, Yun Sheng's real summoner, the puffed egg, was extremely unreliable. The appearance of the puffed egg was too shocking, so Yun Sheng didn't plan to summon it out easily. Xiaohei was much better. Its swallowing the heavens combat skill could attack without warning. When facing an enemy, if it encountered a situation that it couldn't win, it could immediately run away. Yun Sheng released Xiaohei from the Linglong Pagoda. Seeing that Yun Sheng brought along Xiaohei, Huang Tung's trio, who had seen Yun Sheng's true face of the summoned beast, heaved a sigh of relief. One person and one dog followed Huang Tung's hunting team and left Jade Capital together. Yun Sheng, if you want to join Huang Tung, you have to become a hunter first. Hunters were divided into 6 levels. S, A, B, C, D, and E. As long as one had the identity of a warrior, magician, or summoner, one would be able to obtain a hunter armband from the local hunter's bank with the corresponding identity certificate. You can show your magician's badge or summoning ring. Fengque was the leader of the 4. Along the way, he carefully explained to Yun Sheng about the mainland's Hunters Guild and hunters. Because of this, Yun Sheng came into contact with a new world that she had never seen before. It was a whole new world regarding hunters. Other than the levels of hunters, hunters were divided into 3 types: hunter teams, hunter groups, and freelance hunters based on the number of hunters and the number of hunters they belonged to. The first 2 could directly accept all kinds of individual and team missions, while the latter could only accept individual missions. Therefore, in order to facilitate the different types of missions, most of the hunters on the mainland would join a fixed team or hunter group. The hunter team was also divided into 6 levels: S, A, B, C, D, and E. Each level could only come into contact with missions of the corresponding level, and could not be skipped. The higher the level of the hunting team, the more abundant the hunting missions they would receive, and the higher the rewards and fame they would receive. Huangtung had been in the team for 7 to 8 years. Under the leadership of Fengque, the strength of the 3 of them was not bad. The 3 of them had advanced from rank E all the way to rank C. In the hunting world of Zhou State, they were considered to have a little reputation. However, due to the rules of the hunter union, Fengque and the other 2 could only stay in the C-grade hunting team. This time, after finding Yunsheng, the whole team was overjoyed. Unlike individual hunters who only needed to go through the assessment at the city-level hunter branch, if a hunting team wanted to level up, they had to go to a few specific hunter citadels. On the continent, there would be such a citadel at the border of every country. The Daoi mountain city that Yunsheng and the others were about to arrive at was a hunter citadel. The hunter citadel's existence had 2 meanings. One was to facilitate the assessment of hunters, and the other was to increase the hunter's strength. When Fengque said this, Wenren Xiu and Mu Nanyan were rubbing their hands together. Wenren Xiu said indignantly, "Finally, I can hold my head high. This time, I must beat up the C-grade hunting team so badly that even their own mothers won't recognize them." Yunsheng was still a little confused. Weren't they here to take part in the assessment? Why did it sound like they were here to fight? It didn't take long for Yunsheng to understand what Wenren Xiu meant. Zhou State was vast. Its area was about the same size as Yunsheng's modern motherland, Country Z. The terrain in the country was also very diverse. After passing through many steep mountains, a sky-blue stone oval-shaped building appeared in front of them. When she saw the building, Yunsheng realized that the so-called Hunter Citadel wasn't a real city. It was a huge gymnasium-like building. "Boss Feng, this is Daoi Mountain City? It looks like an arena?" Yunsheng was sure that this was an arena. The arena was very similar to the ancient Roman Colosseum. It was huge, about half the size of Yujing City. It was bigger than any modern sports stadium that Yunsheng had ever seen. Little Sheng's experience is not bad. This is an arena. Zhou State's a loud arena. Daoi Mountain is the name of this place. Fengque bought a map at the entrance of the arena and handed it to Yunsheng. Like any orderly country on the mainland, Zhou State prohibited life and death fights, especially for special groups such as magicians, warriors, and summoners. Their fights were not allowed to affect the civilians. But in other words, fights were unavoidable. If a country's powerhouses lost the will to fight, then the country's decline was inevitable. To prevent this from happening, the 5 major countries came up with the idea of Hunter Citadel. Hunter citadels were mostly located in remote mountainous areas or areas with beasts. They let the hot-blooded hunters compete in the local area. On one hand, it could eliminate the local beasts. On the other hand, it could also ensure that the powerful magicians, summoners, and warriors didn't hurt the innocent civilians. To put it bluntly, the process of the hunter team assessment is a competition. Take a B-grade hunter team as an example. If you want to upgrade from a C-grade hunter team to a B-grade hunter team, you have to challenge a hunter team of the same level. You have to win at least 3 times before you can proceed to the last round of assessment. The content of the last round of assessment is to defeat a B-grade hunter team. When Fengque and the others came, they didn't explain it clearly to Yunsheng. They were also worried that if Yunsheng got stage fright and refused to come, then it would be troublesome. But Sheng girl, you don't have to worry. Our strength is ranked in the top 5 among the C-grade hunter teams. When the time comes, you don't even have to fight. You can just sit on boss's shoulder, Wenren Xiu joked. It was very lively in Daoi Mountain. With Yunsheng's small arms and legs, she would be drowned by those tall and strong hunters if she wasn't careful. To prevent Yunsheng from getting lost, Fengque, who was more than 2 meters tall, simply put Yunsheng on his shoulder. Yunsheng was embarrassed, But she soon realized that the great Newton's words were incomparably correct. It was easy to do things by sitting on a giant's shoulder. Fengkuo's shoulder was wide and broad, just like a human cushion. Yunsheng sat on it and had a good view. Yunsheng flipped through the map in her hand and checked the layout of the hunter citadel. Boss Feng, there are also weapon stores and medical centers in the citadel? As if she had discovered a new continent, Yunsheng found some shops on the map of Daoi Mountain. It's not just weapons and pills. Generally speaking, the citadel's market can also find treasures that can't even be bought in Yujing, Fengkuo explained kindly. Chapter 146. It was a treasure that could not even be bought in Yujing City. Who would have thought that a seemingly ordinary soldier hunting citadel would have such a good item? Yunsheng thought to herself. After she entered Mount Daoi, she had also realized that there was something unusual about this place. The soldier hunting citadel, which looked like an arena, was actually a completely different world inside. According to its functions, it was divided into the public area, the marketplace area, and the arena area. The arena area was naturally where the competition took place. One had to purchase an additional ticket to enter. The marketplace was open all day and provided all sorts of miscellaneous goods, such as magic materials, bones of demonic beasts, and soul stones. The public area was filled with all sorts of places to rest and relax. There were restaurants, tea houses, and gambling dens. There was not a single one missing. When Yunsheng passed by the marketplace area, her heart skipped a beat. She said unconsciously, in that case, this soldier hunting citadel is quite an impressive place. This is nothing. The development of Zhou State's soldier hunting citadel can only be considered average. This is also because Zhou State has not had a martial saint level expert like the old general. Even a genius sorcerer like the former eldest son of the Yun family, Yun Songhai, could not be found in Zhou State. Perhaps seeing the soldier hunting citadel had brought up some memories. Fengkuo unconsciously brought up the past. Suddenly hearing her father's name, Yunsheng was stunned. Speaking of which, Yunsheng, your surname is also Yun. Your agricultural talent is not bad. Could it be that you are related to the Yun family? Fengkuo was suspicious. He tilted his head and looked at Yunsheng. Yunsheng had used the identity of the summoner Yin Yun in Huangting. However, the three people in the hunting team knew her real name. Yunsheng had not known the three of them for long. Wenren Xiu had done a simple investigation of her background. She only knew that she was an orphan from a mountain village. After arriving in Yujing City, she had sought refuge with Dr. Fan of the Rejuvenation Hall. Boss Feng, if I were from the general's residence, would I still be a public student and enter the Imperial Magic Academy? Yunsheng mocked herself. She did not care about the identity of the general's residence. Hearing Yunsheng's words, Fengkuo and the others also felt that it was reasonable. Not to mention others, how could the children of the general's mansion be as down-to-earth as Yunsheng? Old General Yun's grandson Tang Yu was a living example. He was a typical playboy who was ignorant and incompetent. Boss Feng, the genius magician you mentioned just now, did he come to Mount Daoi before? He also participated in the competition here? Yunsheng was very interested in the father that Fengkuo mentioned. Her father, Yun Songhai, was a very low-key person. In his early years he hid his identity. After leaving Banana Leaf Village, he rarely mentioned his past deeds to Yunsheng. Yunsheng's memories of Yun Songhai's past were told to her by Mei Li. However, that wasn't complete. Yunsheng thought that as long as she knew more about her father's past, she might be able to find the real cause of her father's poisoning. From there, she would be able to find the person who had poisoned her father and finally find the antidote. Yun Songhai is the most legendary magician in the history of Zhou State. Although the outside world has different opinions of him, I was lucky enough to meet him in my early years. He is indeed an extraordinary person. After a day of traveling, Fengkuo saw that everyone was tired, so he found a restaurant in the public area. The few of them ate and drank, recovering some strength. During the meal, Fengkuo told Yunsheng about Yun Songhai with relish. Yun Songhai had indeed participated in the arena. In fact, the true experts on the continent were all frequent guests of the arena. When they came here, in addition to finding experts who were on par with them, They could also observe other people's competitions to achieve the goal of enlightenment. Yun Songhai's most famous competition took place in a hunter citadel called Skywing City. It was the only hunter citadel in the entire continent that only experts of sky rank and above could enter. Skywing City itself was 10,000 meters in the air, so only experts with the ability to fly and summoners with flying summoned beasts could reach it. Yun Songhai had just broken through to become a sky magician not long ago. In the Skywings arena, he had swept his way through those of the same rank and obtained an impressive record of 99 consecutive victories. 99 consecutive victories. When Wen Renxiu heard this record, she almost swallowed her chopsticks. Every hunter on the continent had heard of the name Skywings, Hunter Citadel, but only less than 1 in 100,000 experts were qualified to enter Skywings. Only those who had entered Heaven's Wings would know how difficult it was to obtain a victory there. That was because in Skywings, not only did they have to fight people, they also had to fight beasts. There, the ticket price for a competition was as high as 10,000 imperial purple gold coins. The arena would first capture a batch of magical beasts with strength close to commander rank and imprison them for a month. Only when their stomachs were rumbling with hunger would the magical beasts and competitors be allowed to compete in the arena. One could only imagine the terrifying strength of a lord rank, or even a domain-ranked magical beast king. Under such circumstances, Yun Songhai was still able to maintain such a perfect victory record. This made Yun Sheng, who was always calm, couldn't help but feel the blood in his entire body surge. That was her, Yun Sheng's father, the high-spirited Yun Songhai at his peak. Did Yun Songhai obtain 100 consecutive victories in the end? Even Mu Nanyan stopped and listened to Feng Kuo speak of the final result. In the arena, if one obtained 100 consecutive victories, they would obtain a Soldier Elite Recruitment Order that was recognized by the Hunter Union. A Soldier Elite Recruitment Order meant that the owner of the order could obtain the Hunter Union's unconditional and unlimited help. Only the hunters knew the importance of this Soldier Elite Recruitment Order. It could be as small as saving a life or as big as attacking a country. Unfortunately, during Yun Songhai's 100th match, he met a female summoner who was participating in a competition for the first time. In just a quarter of an hour, Yun Songhai was defeated, Feng Kuo said slowly. He had not seen that match, but the results of the match were widely known in every hunter citadel. Lost to a female summoner? Could the opponent be an expert from the Zhao state? Wen Renxiu wrung her hands and did not forget to gossip about the appearance of the female summoner. No, the opponent was a freelance summoner with no background. No one knew her appearance or age. It was said that she was wearing a gauze hat when she participated in the competition. That was all Feng Kuo knew. After that, Yun Songhai left the Heaven's Wings arena. However, the record of 99 consecutive victories that he maintained had never been broken by anyone since then. What was surprising was that the female summoner who had defeated Yun Songhai had never appeared again after participating in that match. While Wen Renxiu and Mu Nanyan were sighing endlessly, Yun Sheng's heart softened a little. She had already guessed the identity of the female summoner. In the whole world, the only person who could make the proud and arrogant Yun Songhai bow down was her mother, Hu Jiuxing. The Heaven's Wings arena? If she had the chance, she would definitely step onto that high and mighty arena in the future and rewrite the winning streak record left behind by her father and mother. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.